This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately. What's going on, everybody? Well, there goes all the dishes. Hold on one second. Got the sink making the noise. The Travis? That was a long time ago. Wow. Chloe's over there gobbling up a bunch of food. All right. What do we got? What do we got? Trolls already? Trolls already? Not sure what that means, Jill, but... Not sure what that... How am I gullible, Jill? Type it in. I want to hear how I'm gullible, Jill. Go ahead and type it in. Let's hear it. Everyone stop the show and watch Jill Grant. The most interesting person on the planet. Go ahead. What was it that I'm gullible about? Go ahead. Yeah. Well, I guess the first thing we should start off with is... let me get you this. I've finally got the accounting for the our DNA fund that we've got. So hold on. Where is that? Tax 2021. All right. So this is from Intermountain Forensics right here. Hold on, let me switch over to this screen. All right, so this was last year in here, and these are all the funds that we put in there. 23,250. 3,000 of that was from Jeff S. And then that's just for 2021, and we actually have 8,766 remaining, which is way more than a normal cost for one of the even the most difficult ones for Addison County, and that was from 2021. But if you remember, the payment that I sent in on December 31st for 3,000, that's being added for the 2022 year. So we actually are 3,000 into, at least 3,000 into the next case. Right, so the fourth case. So we've already covered 3 full cases, and now we've got enough funds to cover Addison County's already in there, the 3,000 that we already sent in, and then at the end of this month, I'm hoping, if the freaks are generous all the way throughout the year, that we're able to add another 2,000 to 2,500 at the end of this month, and that'll get us up to about 5,500, and that's almost already just boom. No, my dishwasher isn't running, truthfully. Your sleuthing skills suck, all right? So the... so we're about... we'll be at the end of this month, so just in about another... Gosh, I don't know. 4 or 5 days, 5 days from now, we're going to be at, we should have around 5,500, and then there's no reason that at the end of the next month, February, hopefully, we can make it so we have a full case completely covered. And that might be one that we can do through the, the Southern Oregon Sheriff's Department that I'm going to go be meeting with on pretty soon here. All right. So if you guys would like to help out the channel, I send in over 50% of the YouTube revenue, so super chats, ad revenue, and the and channel membership. I use that and send it in, okay? But it's only you guys. Well, there you go. Thanks. The mayor, Billy Juliana. But it's only you guys. The ad revenue and so forth on YouTube's absolutely terrible. You can ask every single YouTuber. You know, unless you have millions of subs, then, you know, you'll get a lot of views and you make ad revenue because you might get 100,000 views on every video that you put out. I don't get that. I get maybe 2 to 8, you know. And that's just the way it is, you know. People like to watch the short 15-minute shows, but I do live shows. All right. So right now it says our balance is 8,766. So there should even be some left over after Addison County. And then we have 3,000 that is for January. And so that means it's like 3,500 or so. Then we've got, at the end of this month, I'm going to send another check over there. We've already donated 1,000 to, I think, let me see what I think it's Rain and Equisearch, I think. No, it's Rain and Knickknack. So we've already done 1,000, but we'll put the remaining amount back into the DNA fund. And I think if you've been around, everybody knows that the DNA, paying for the solving of a case and giving somebody their name back or identifying a killer is probably one of the greatest feelings I've ever had. And hopefully you guys felt the same way. All right. So also today, the Fugitive YouTuber, the one that cons every single person. See, here's the thing is there's people that watch the con man's channel and think, wow, he's so interesting. He's just so great. Because they believe all the shit that he tells you. You know, here's another con. See, he was just arrested today, the con man, right? He was arrested in Georgia, and the reason he was arrested in Georgia, apparently, I don't have this 100%, but I think it's pretty accurate, was that his girlfriend, who shall go nameless, don't type it in even, nobody, if you type it in, you'll get removed, all right? So she was covering the Kendrick Johnson case, which, you know, we've all covered a million times, but at least she's covering something other than the standard cases that her boyfriend covers over and over and over, the same one. DNA wave. All right, so apparently they went to Georgia to do the crazy crap that he always does, where he goes inside the jail and starts, hey, do this, why aren't you doing this? For that case, for her. I mean, what an idiot. So he goes over to Georgia, and he believes this whole time that there's no extradition available on him, so he can just do whatever the hell he wants. Well, he didn't realize that it was changed. You know, it was changed that he is extraditable. That means he's more important to law enforcement than other people might actually think he is. He is a dirtbag, okay? So they're holding him in Georgia for... so anyways, they were there doing this protesting thing, and then they got his name. And here's how you know that the guy is a liar. He you know what? It says in the jail cell record thing, it says he's 5'10" and 170 pounds. I mean, he can't even tell the truth on his damn ID card or whatever the hell it is. The guy's like 5'6" and 140. He's tiny. He's a really tiny guy. All right, so even on that, you got a huge lie. It's crazy. Hey, thanks, Eugenie. So anyways, I know that people that watch him probably feel bad that their hero is in in jail right now and will be extradited back to Indiana. And at some point, he'll meet the justice that he deserves. Okay, there's so many of you out there that are been fooled by an absolute con man, and at some point, hopefully, you'll wake up and see the reality of it. Now, you may not like me at all. You don't like my personality. Oh, I'm just so mean. Half of you think I'm mean because you heard somebody else say that I was mean. But you never were here. You don't see how the show goes in general. Like, people, you have to spend about... If you watch an entire 3-hour show, you'd have a completely different perspective. But what happens is all the wackos that only watch Delphi shows, they show up, and we have trolls central when we do Delphi shows. So then I might call somebody out, or we get really crazy, crappy, ridiculous theories that I call out. I don't allow wild speculation on this channel. And so we do speculate. We speculate reasonably on facts of a case, okay? Now there's this new guy that's on Twitter that everybody thinks is the killer. I think the guy is a mentally ill person, and people are taking advantage of him. Okay. No, I'm not talking about that person, Patty. I'm talking about a YouTuber. Greeno. I'll actually say his name. Greeno is the YouTuber that I'm talking about. He is a felon, and he was on the run, and he just got arrested. And the plan is to have him extradited back to Indiana. Who knows what more conning he can do and get out on parole again, or get out of jail on bail. I don't think he's going to get out on bail. Who the hell knows, really? Yeah, but anyways, there's another guy. The other person I'm talking about right now, I was just talking about the person on Twitter. That is the person that I was talking about. That person, I think, is just kind of crazy. Like, there's something wrong with him. There's this interview out there. Everybody's like, wow, that's so great. I just call it sensationalism, right? I mean, people, they do an interview, and everybody wants somebody to be the killer, so everybody gets really excited about it, instead of just really listening and going, yeah, something doesn't sound quite right here. Something doesn't sound quite right. I might... We got some mail delivered. Went to the wrong house. Yeah, it wasn't Avon. Oh, good. No bond. Good. Yeah, because I hate to break it to you guys, but for those of you out there that are just like, wow, and you're huge fans of that person. I mean, I get it. He makes these really, sensationalistic videos and everything. But he is conning you, okay? That's the truth. Yeah, so look, if you're going to use a fake name, we're going to hide you on here, all right? So, oh yeah, I got to hide this person. I know. Yeah, if you make a fake any account, you're just gone in 2 seconds. We don't do that. Let me show you guys something that's hilarious. Watch this. This right here are the recent. Look at all these URLs right here. All these are the recent fake Grant Hughes accounts out there that have my thumbnail, my full name, and then they go around making comments on other people's videos. Some of them are me and some aren't. But the ones that are going to random places, I don't know who this person is. So that right there, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These 2 are still active. The rest of these, most of these are all been removed so far. Right? So that's what I have to deal with all the time. There's, like, it has my thumbnail, my name, but a different banner. So that's how they're believing it's going to sidetrack the algorithm that YouTube uses, because they don't really give a shit at all, YouTube. Right? So anyways, your favorite YouTuber is now, Anthony Greeno is now in prison, or will be in prison soon. Okay, he's been arrested. He's being sent back to Indiana. And I'm sorry that you got suckered in, and you still continue to be suckered in by a con man, even after people explain it to you 1,000 freaking times. I think now that people feel safe, there's people out there that he has actually assaulted that might actually come forward at some point now. Okay? Because now they won't be as scared as they were. Okay? You guys don't know who the hell you were being fans of. You guys are so freaking ridiculous. It's embarrassing, really. Embarrassing. You know, whether... I mean, I don't know what the final thing's going to happen here, but I have no... He's not somebody, well, let's give him another chance. Let's give him another chance. I don't feel that way at all for him. I don't have any... I think he is who he is and cannot change. He just changes up the method of the con. Okay? It's a more believable con that he switches up to, and then poof, the con happens and people go, gosh. And then you're too scared to say anything because you know all the other people won't believe you and think you're a troll or something. Anyways, that's all I got for him. I really am glad. You know, he's not somebody I go, God, that's a tough break. I don't feel that way at all. Oh, I'm sure they show up. I don't know. You know, there's people that just randomly show up that might be fans. I don't think anybody in here... I mean, there's probably some 50 people in the background watching that are, you know, the troll fans that show up on every show. And that's right. Game over. Game over. Even as a con on his height and weight. All right, so I'm going to switch over now to... well, it's an Oregon case that Zozo said, hey, you should check this one out. And I'd heard of it before, but I never really looked at it that much, just kind of the general stuff. But this one's, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Back in 1970, what one is it? 74, I think. Yeah, 1974. So let me know when you're ready. Yeah. Thank you, Patty Barnett. No, there goes my stomach. You guys ready? All right. So right now, just letting you know, we are at 5 days left of the month. Okay, I don't want to do the Apple thing tonight. I mean, it does help. It's like a fun little game that makes me feel bad. That you know, I'd rather have you guys just think about it. You know what we're doing here, what we're trying to get done. All right. The guy was he wasn't just a freak to me. He was, I mean, a jerk to me. He was a jerk to thousands of people. They just don't even know it. That's the scary part about it. I just happened to realize what he was doing the whole time. All right, so we're going back to 1974. This is out in Oregon. Or in Oregon, that's where I live. Oh my God, he just doxed himself. Yeah, well, the dirtbag already put my house on his YouTube channel, so that's okay. And everybody knows I live in Oregon. Thank you, your gypsy. Okay, Oregon family missing from Medford area. All right, here we go. An intensive search resumed Tuesday for an Oregon family missing from a camping area near Cooper. Copper, I think, actually. It's Copper. So the thing is, Copper, Oregon doesn't exist anymore. There's now a lake apparently there. I think it's called, like, let's see. Applegate Lake. Thank you, Cindy Leon. So the Cowden family murders. Alright, I'm just going to put this up here and put 1974 in there. It took me almost the whole day again, well, half the day to get to the... Alright. Oops. That'd be 1,000 years from now. 1997. And I think it's Applegate Lake. There it is. Wow, is that really where that is? That can't be. I guess maybe that is. Interesting. That's almost the area that I'll be heading to, interestingly. Apparently in 1980, this area was filled in. But we'll make sure in a little bit. I just want to put this in there in case. Thank you, Kathy Freidenmaker. All right, Richard Cowden, 28. Oh, it says Copper, a community 28 miles southwest of Medford. So let's see where Medford is here. I think it's right around in this area. Yeah. And there it is, that's right. South, 28 miles southwest. And is that about right? Yep. Driving would be about 28 miles, so that is the right spot. So somewhere in here. So Richard Cowden, 28, of White City, his 22-year-old wife and their 2 children, age 5 and 5 months, failed to... So they had a 5-year-old and a 5-month-old child. Failed to show up for a dinner planned by the wife's mother, Ruth Grayson, in Copper. So Ruth Grayson lives in Copper. Miss Grayson and Guy Watkins, owner of a general store in Copper, went to the campsite where the family was staying and found everything completely intact. Like the campsite was pristine. Everything was absolutely normal. The 2 searched for family until early Monday, then notified authorities. State police said the possibility of foul play was being investigated, saying Cowden's wallet and a torn blouse belonging to his wife were found in the camp. That's interesting. The family dog was located about 5 miles away near a highway and may have tried to follow the Cowdens, officer said. Thank you, Jessica Schubach. All right, actually, I think I have a picture of the dog here at the campground. So hold on. There it is. You know, I'm pretty sure the dog isn't alive anymore. So apparently this is the campsite, and that was their dog. They must have brought him back.
Ocean wave.
What do you mean, how about the dog? Hunt continues near campsite for family of 4. An intensive search in rugged country continued southwest of here Wednesday for a White City family of 4. Let me see where White City is. Never even heard of that. Yeah, it's right there. Interesting. Never heard of it. So that's where the family is from. That's near Medford and... Hold on, let me see where... Okay. Interesting. So they're right here. And then they drove to visit, I think I can't remember if it was whose mother it was, but state police said they have found no new clues. Let me go back to the one prior. I think it said right at the bottom. Planned by the wife's mother, Ruth. Okay, so the mother of the wife, Ruth. Ruth Grayson in Copper on Sunday night. Okay. State police said they have found no new clues to the whereabouts or condition of Richard Cowden, 28, his wife Belinda, 22, and their 2 children, David, 5, and Melissa, 5. The family was to have arrived Sunday evening at the home of Mrs. Cowden's mother. State police said the search conducted mainly on foot because of the rough terrain was confined to a triangular area bound by the Applegate and Little Applegate rivers in the Rogue River National Forest. Jackson County Sheriff deputies, U.S. Forest Service personnel, and members of the Alpine Rescue Club, a motorcycle club, and a citizens band radio organization were aided state police. Thank you, Jenny Lassiter. All right. So there we go. That was on the 5th, the 6th. So the first article was on the 4th, and then the 6th. Mine search due in attempt to find family. State police Thursday began looking in area, or something like, maybe it says Ora Mines west of Copper, near the California border, in the search for a White City family that disappeared from a campsite on Sunday. Richard Cowden, 28, his wife Belinda, and their children David, 5, and Melissa, 5, vanished from a campsite along Carberry Creek. So where's that? Is that still there? Carberry Creek. Now there you go. So it's feeding into it. Okay, so Copper isn't around, but here's Carberry Creek. So their campsite might actually still be around, I guess. Unless it's part of it that was in where the lake is. Carberry Creek. They left personal belongings, camping equipment, and a pickup truck behind. Wow, that's crazy. Police, aided by U.S. Forest Service personnel and volunteer rescue groups, have combed the area in the rugged Siskiyou Mountains. They have found no clues to the family's whereabouts or condition. State police said there has been no evidence the family met with foul play. The Cowdens were scheduled to arrive late Sunday at the home of Mrs. Cowden's mother, Ruth Grayson. Right. Of Copper. Miss Grayson and another resident of Copper, Guy Wilkins, went to the campsite to look for the family. Police and volunteers using a state police airplane expanded this search Thursday to as far as 25 miles from the campsite. It is believed state police said the Cowdens no longer were near the campsite. A police dog seemed to follow the Cowdens scent to the campsite road. Okay, The Cowdens scent to the campsite road. State police said the family dog was found unharmed 5 miles from the camping area. State police said as if it had tried to follow the family. A geologist may join in the mine search Friday. It'd be interesting when we find out where... It would have been cool if they had said exactly where the dog was found. Alright, so there's a picture of them right here. And one of their children. That's probably obviously the 5-year-old. But older than that, maybe that picture there. A $1,000 reward has been offered for information leading to the location of a White City family missing from a campsite in the rugged mountains. Friends of Richard Cowden family offered the money Friday if the family is found alive and for information leading to the arrest and conviction of persons responsible. Cowden, his wife Belinda, and their children David 5 and Melissa 5 months vanished from their campsite near Copper, 30 miles southwest of Medford. Meanwhile, Alpine search and rescue specialists, Oregon National Guard, were called in Friday. Miss Grayson said she went up to the campsite last weekend when the family failed to arrive at her home in Copper on Copper Sunday night. So she must have known exactly where they were going to be camping. Nothing makes sense, she said. She said, "We're absolutely baffled. They had camped at Carberry Creek 3 weeks before and were very familiar with the camping area and the country." She discounted speculation that the family left their campsite because their pickup had broken down or one of their children was ill or injured. Mrs. Grayson said the truck was driven back to Copper Lake, and if one of the children had been ill or harmed, the family would have gone first to Copper, only about 1 mile away. If the family was abducted, Mrs. Grayson said, she believes they were kidnapped from a swimming area on Carberry Creek near the campsite. Personal belongings left at the campsite indicated that Cowden had only their swimming clothes when they left or were forced to leave. That's interesting. Now, let's see. Let me open up this. Where would there be a swimming area? I wonder if there's street view on this. Now look at that. Yeah, I mean there could be all kinds of areas here. But look, you can see, look how absolutely in the middle of nowhere this area is here. Once you get into the camping grounds. I wonder how far back if you go to 1985. No. This is about this is 1993. But apparently in 1980 is when they dammed this area up. So I don't think we're going to be able to see that. Alright. So, let's see. Miss Graven said the reward is very legitimate. We've got to try everything. About 80 to 100 members of the 1st Battalion, 186th Infantry out of Ashland and Medford were preparing a thorough ground search. An Ashland minister, Lewis Porter, who claimed extrasensory perception, oh man, could lead him to the family, failed in his effort. Really? Wow, what a shock, everybody. The guy with ESP failed to lead law enforcement to the family. I'm absolutely shocked by that. How about you? You know what he needed, though, was one of the very handy, the EVP devices with him. What do you think? Like, had he had this with him, it would have been like a... Hold on. Oh, yeah. At the beach. Oh, at the beach. Oh, the river. Yeah, and there are people that actually believe in EVP readings.
5 brain cells, 4 aren't working.
Exactly. Thank you. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one here. So they got a helicopter in the search. Copter joins hunt for missing family. That's all you really need to know on that one. And then on the 9th, missing family remains object of OSP hunt. So most searchers went home Sunday, but the Oregon State Police said they haven't abandoned attempts to find a White City family that disappeared while camping near Copper a week ago. Police investigators are at the campsite 30 miles away from here, trying to find some indication of what happened to the Richard Cowden family, an OSP spokesman at the Medford office said. We haven't completely quit yet. We're still in there, he noted. Cowden, 28, his wife, Belinda, 22, and their 2 children, David, 5, and Melissa, 5 months, vanished from a camping area a mile west of Copper. Okay, that makes sense. On Carberry Creek. They have been the subject of intensive, widespread ground and air searches. The OSP coordinated effort had brought in the Oregon National Guard, Explorers California, etc., etc., etc. They got tons of people. The Cowden's camp appeared undisturbed, the state policeman said. Valuables, clothing, camping equipment, and food were found at the campsite. You name it. It's all there, he added. So it's weird, when they went swimming, maybe the killer didn't even know where they were, where their campground was at the time. Man. Hold on. I don't know if their dogs are running around, but I don't see it. I don't see it on the. Hold on a second. Let me try. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the camera. It's not working. Not working at all. Yeah, this is a weird case here. Chewbacca.
Chewbacca?
Hit the wrong
I'll
button.
be Chewbacca if you want me to.
But hey, who didn't need a little Chewbacca right there? Cairo said he was feeling a little bit better yesterday. I don't know how he's doing today, but I still haven't heard from Steph May. Looks like she changed her name on YouTube, so if any of you out there know where the hell she went, or how she's doing, or what's going on, I have no clue. I get nervous when she disappears like that, because the only 2 times she's disappeared like that, she was in the hospital. Yeah, I've never heard of this one. I just barely heard of it, just living in Oregon. So I think it was in an article somewhere, but I didn't read it. This is crazy, though. Police aerial photos yield no hint, so we still have officers combing the area and all kinds of theories about the camper's disappearance. They come in every day, but we have nothing new. So there you go, nothing new there. Thank you, Ria Mazzarone. Search slows for Cowden. Physical search for the missing Richard Cowden family of White City has been generally abandoned, and state police say they are checking out tips pouring in from the public. Missing are Cowden, 28, his wife Belinda, 22, and their children David, 5, and Melissa, 5 months. They disappeared September 1st from a campsite near Copper, a community southwest of here, near the California border. Their camp gear, clothing, food, and pickup were found undisturbed. So it's almost like they went to a campsite that wasn't near. They went swimming in a swimming hole that wasn't near their campsite, and they were abducted from that location. State police said Tuesday the FBI has not called in because no solid evidence has turned up to indicate the Cowdens were kidnapped or forced across state lines. All right, here we go. Authorities have no clue to family fate. This is how all the articles were sounding. Authorities have no firm clues of the whereabouts of a family that disappeared from a campsite at Copper September 1st. Lieutenant Tom Phillips said, "We have a good many leads and we have several men assigned to the case." He said law enforcement officers are investigating the disappearance of the family. An official search in the rugged mountain area of 25 miles southwest of Medford near California border was suspended September 7th, but friends and relatives of the Cowdens who live in the area are using weekends and vacations to continue the search, Phillips said. The dogs are going crazy back here. They're playing tug of war with a hedgehog. Oh my God. Well, there they go. They took off. And not a real hedgehog, okay? For you PETA wackos out there. Okay, they weren't really ripping an actual... And then... Well,
gosh, Gray, maybe they shouldn't use even a fake one.
why shouldn't they use a fake one? Wouldn't you rather have them kill a fake hedgehog over a real hedgehog?
Well, no, Gray, it's the idea of it, you see, because it'll get in their mind that it's okay to kill hedgehogs.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's ridiculous. So they can't even play with a toy that simulates playing with an actual hedgehog.
That's exactly right, Gray. Gee, you're so mean.
Uh-oh, everybody. Guess what? That means I am thrown in jail by Mary Lou because I said that playing with a fake hedgehog doll isn't bad. But she said it teaches the dogs to fight against real hedgehogs by simulating attacking. Yeah, that's exactly right. That looks exactly like it. What you got right there, Georgina. But unfortunately, we are now stuck behind the so mean jail cell made official by Lori Fisher. No, Chloe's right here. What do you need, Chloe? Let me go get that dang hedgehog. Hold on a second. Drop it. Look at it. I mean, that is exactly like the one that Georgina Stoliker put in the her emojis there. Look at that. Oh, there you go. Oh wait, okay. Carolina T. I love that Mary. Love that Larry. Wow. So you're supporting. I'm negative 25 right now. Carolina T. was supporting Mary Lou, and Billy Juliana, the mayor, stepping in, told me to stay behind bars. So that's negative 25. And I thought I'd be a troll tonight. Thought I'd troll tonight. Hi. Wow, you had your flu shingles shot today. Made me tired. Hey, good night, quietly frozen, and thank you. And see, that wasn't even bail. That was just, so we're negative 25, and I think Candalee must be making it negative 30, and then Lori Fisher's making it negative 32, and quietly frozen was just telling us that she had her flu and shingles shot. The shingles shot is the one that makes you feel... It doesn't make you feel too good. I had both of those, and man, that's not really great. So right now we're at negative 32. Man, that's unbelievable. Was I that bad?
Yes, you were, Gray. Gee, you taught your dogs to kill hedgehogs.
No, I didn't. I taught my dogs to kill a stuffed animal hedgehog.
Well, what's the difference, Gray, in their minds?
Well, I think they know that it's not a real hedgehog, Mary Lou, because you can tell that they're just playing with it. Now, if that was a real hedgehog, I don't know if they would probably come up and sniff it and be really slow.
How do you know, Gray? Gee.
Oh boy, here we go again. Here we go again. Hey, quietly frozen, should I take yours as a bail? Okay, there you go. That's bail. Okay, there we go. We're at negative 30 unless quietly frozen counts as bail. Hedgehogs are, yeah, that's right. You know, I wonder what hedgehogs taste like. You know, you get a little butter on them, maybe some garlic, perhaps a little oyster sauce. You just never know. They could be fantastic. Perhaps a little gamey. Oh yeah, they taste just like chicken. Yeah. There you go, ramen noodles. Okay, cool. That counts. I'm waiting. I think Quietly Frozen took off, so I don't know if that was bail or not. Yeah, I'll stick to the Baconator. I think you're right on that one. Hedgehogs probably don't taste good, but maybe, you know, they are called hedgehogs. Is there a possibility of little tiny bacon strips being gleaned from that? I don't think so. Quietly Frozen. Am I really actually mean? Yeah, I mean, look at it. Quietly Frozen put me on the spot right there. She said, basically, are you going to stop being mean? And now I'm not sure how I'm supposed to answer that one. I seriously. Hey, no place like home. All right, cool. We're down below 20. Oh, look at that. We're down at like 13 now. Hey, a watched hedgehog never boils, right, Dan? Hedge pigs. Oh yeah. They're great for getting rid of ticks here in Ontario. Oh yeah? They're kind of cool looking. Okay, there we go. There, I think Betty Yeti's got me pretty much. Let the freaks decide, Quietly Frozen said. Does it count, you guys? Are you helping me out here? Okay, I'm gonna get out. I'll use part of Quietly Frozen to get me out of here. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for helping out. Get me the hell out of jail there. And it also helps out my channel and the charities at the end of the month. And if you missed the beginning of the show, it turns out we have more money in the DNA fund than I was thinking. Right now we have $8,700 and so dollars. Prior to the donation that I made of $3,000 at the December 31st. So we actually have about 3,000, let's just say 500 sitting there. And then let's say I donate another 2,500 or so at the end of the month. Hopefully we can get to that because we've already done 1,000. That would put us at 6,000 towards a fourth case. That's crazy, right? So thank you guys. Hedge swines. Yeah. Well, thanks, Quietly Frozen, for at least letting them choose. It gave me a better chance, I think. Okay, so right, just 2 months later, no sign of the family. On Sunday, September 1st, Richard Cowden and his son David walked into the general. So now we get more information. They walked into the general store in Copper in southern Oregon, rugged Siskiyou Mountains, for a quart of milk. So that's where they went first. They left with the milk and haven't been seen since. Neither has Cowden's wife Belinda or their 5-month-old daughter Melissa. Well, I think it's safe to assume that they all saw each other, and that's not the last time some human saw them. For 2 months, police have volunteers, searchers have probed the mountains for clues to a mystery that has no logic and no answers. There are no known motives for foul play. Friends and family describe Cowden as a reliable, likable, hardworking man with no apparent reason to vanish. Cowden, 28, a log truck driver from White City near Medford, had taken his family camping over the Labor Day weekend. On that Sunday, they were to have gone to the home of Belinda's mother, Ruth Grayson, for dinner. But they didn't show up, and that evening people started to worry. Mrs. Grayson went to the nearby campsite and found nobody there. The quart of milk they had bought that morning was there, and a plastic dishpan was set out on the picnic table. Fishing poles were against a tree. The family pickup was parked nearby. There were Mrs. Cowden's purse and Melissa's diaper bag and the camp stove. Near the creek was Cowden's expensive watch and his billfold with $23 in it. So right there you think, well, robbery doesn't seem to be a motive. I mean, nothing was taken. His wife's open pack of cigarettes was there. At any minute, a person might expect to hear them coming back into camp to clean up for dinner. Yeah, that's kind of what it would seem like, right? Nothing in disarray. They were just going to come back up, but they didn't. For more than a week, the mountains were smothered with searchers. State police covered both sides of all the creeks and rivers in the area, and the gullies leading down to them as well. The U.S. Forest Service checked every road and rail within 25-mile radius of the camp. The National Guard came, so did bands of explorer scouts. But there was nothing. Not a footprint, not a scent, nothing. There was nothing at the Cowdens' home to indicate they hadn't planned to return. Vegetables ripened in the window. The freezer had been filled with winter. They had just redecorated David's room. The only known witness is the family dog, Droopy, a basset. Droopy showed up at the store in Cooper early on the morning of September 2nd and scratched at the door. Police don't know where Droopy was in the meantime. His paw prints were added to the slowly thickening file number 655244. Mrs. Grayson made periodic check of the area for weeks after the Cowdens vanished. She said the Cowdens were in debt, but who isn't? She asked. Cowden vanished during what was described as a peak earning time for workers in the logging industry. She said they may have been forced into a car at gunpoint, but is at a loss to say why. 2 other vehicles were reported in the area that day. One has been accounted for, the other, a van, has not. Reports and tips still dribble into State Police Headquarters in Medford. Lieutenant Mark Rezar, who heads the investigation, said most of them at this stage are hunchers or reports of dreams and visions. He said if they bring to light any new possibilities, they are followed up. Well, that was an interesting one there. I kind of gave you a picture of why it's so weird to everybody. And then look at this then there was 5 months of nothing. And then right here, police find 4 skeletons at Medford. Now, that's just nuts, right? State police have found 4 bodies near the forest location where a White City family of 4 disappeared in September. State medical examiner William Bradley said late Sunday that he had been called to the Southern Oregon region to seek identification of the bodies. I have been called to Medford to try and make positive identification and determine the cause of death of the skeletal remains of 4 bodies. Dr. Brady, said the bodies were discovered near where the family of a log truck driver disappeared. Richard Cowden, 28, of White City, his wife Belinda, 22, son David, 5, and daughter Melissa, 5 months, vanished while on a Labor Day weekend camping trip near Copper in the Siskiyou Mountains of Southern Oregon. Camping gear, the family pickup truck, Mrs. Cowden's purse, a diaper bag, a camp stove were found, but no trace of the family. Their basset hound named Droopy showed up at the store in Copper the morning after the family vanished. You know, got some crap on my glasses. It's hurting my eyes. Or making my eyes feel funny. Alright, bodies identified as family missing since Labor Day. So, the bodies of the Richard Cowden family missing since last September 1st have been found 6.5 miles west of a southern Oregon campsite from which they disappeared, state police said Monday. So 6.5 miles west. I wonder how you would even get over here, or how you would even find the damn thing. Here, let me get the circle thing. Let's just say that that's where it was. 6 miles. And inside of that right there. So maybe somewhere over here somewhere. So far. But west could be anywhere. But it probably generally means more like right over here. Not, they didn't say northwest or southwest. Man, these guys are just nuts tonight. Can you guys hear them just running around? Hey, Blue. Come here, buddy. Blue's trying to get away. You alright, Blue? Gotta use this. Hey, Blue. Wow. Oh, Blue. Crazy. Skeletal remains were found near where the Cowden family disappeared. Cowden, his wife Belinda, 28, their son David, 5, and daughter Melissa, 5 months, vanished while camping near the little town of Copper. Authorities checking the campsite found food on the picnic table, a pan, dishwasher had been a pan of dishwater had been found or set out, and dishes and utensils were placed neatly near a camp stove. So maybe it was like they were already ready to have something to eat. Clothes were folded on a cot. That camp it sure was spooky, the state trooper Lee Erickson. Even the milk was on the table. The family's pickup truck was parked at the site. Maybe they were taking a little bit of a swim as almost a shower, you know, getting ready. They'd have something to eat and then go to sleep, something like that. The family dog scratched on the door of the Copper General Store the morning after the family disappeared. The last time any of the Cowdens were seen was the day before their disappearance, when Cowden and his son went to the general store for a quart of milk. The Cowdens were to have gone to the home of Mrs. Cowden's mother in Copper, Mrs. Grayson, a mile from the camp, for dinner. They never showed up. Mrs. Cowden's mother, Ruth Grayson, looked over the family's belongings and said they apparently all were wearing only bathing suits when they disappeared. Searchers, including National Guardsmen, combed the rugged Siskiyou Mountains in a 25-mile radius of the camp, but found nothing. The Cowdens had camped in the area before and reportedly knew it well. We're hopeful now that something real significant will turn up. He said the body of Cowden was found high up on a hillside in heavy brush and timber. And that says, it just doesn't say the Cowdens. Jackson County Sheriff Dwayne Franklin, who appeared with Kezar at the news conference Monday, estimated the grade of the hillside is about 60 to 70%. Yeah, that's steep. I wonder if he's trying to get away. The general vicinity was searched last fall, but no one went up the steep hill, the sheriff said. The family dog was used in a bloodhound search during the initial investigation. but was not taken into immediate area of the cave. Oh, interesting. I was actually wondering that a few minutes ago. I was thinking, man, what a perfect dog to own. A bloodhound. You could just bring the bloodhound out there and just watch what it does, you know? Like give a scent and... I don't know. I mean, it wasn't trained, but it seems like it would try to find its master, whatever you call it, owner. Right? Authorities sealed off the area and were using metal detectors in the search for the murder weapon. State and county medical officials were examining the bodies to determine exact cause of death. Doctors say mother-son shot. So state and Jackson County medical examiner said Tuesday that the mother and 5-year-old boy in the missing Southern Oregon family, whose remains were discovered Saturday, had been shot to death. Mr. William... I know there's people that need to see everything, so there you go. Remains were discovered Saturday, had been shot today. Dr. William Brady, state medical examiner, and Dr. Albert Kearns, Jackson County medical examiner, said Belinda Cowden, 22, died of at least 2 gunshot wounds in the head. The boy, David, also was shot in the head, they said. They said a 5-month-old girl, Melissa, had severe head injuries, but the examiners were unable to determine how the injuries were inflicted. They said that no firm statement could be made as to the cause of death of Richard Cowden, 27, because of the condition of the remains being skeletonized with very little flesh were difficult to study because of some scattering believed caused by animals. The family vanished from a campsite last summer, and the remains were found Saturday by prospectors. The bodies were identified through dental records. Police say there is no indication of who killed the family or why, but Oregon State Police Lieutenant Mark Kezar speculated that the slayer was a local person familiar with the mountainous area. The remains were found about 6.5 miles northwest of a campsite, so now we know that's more up in this area. And you can tell, maybe is there a street view in there? No. Man, I wonder how people even got there. That's crazy. That's kind of an interesting little land area there. Uh, 6.5 miles northwest of a campsite near the town of Copper. Hundreds of searchers combed the area for 5 miles around the Cowdens were reported missing, including the general area where the remains were found. Kezar said 2 Forest Grove prospectors, Alan West and Marvin Proctor, found Cowden's remains on a steep hillside Saturday. The remains of his wife and children were found stuffed into a small cave or grotto about 200 yards away. Wow. So it's almost like he tried to get away. Attorney Tuesday were checking into possible payments of almost $1,700 to West Proctor. The amount was for information leading to the whereabouts of the family. The other reward fund stipulation earmarks the rest of the money for information leading to the arrest and conviction of whoever killed the family. No, we don't know if they're... Well, it's probably... Well, I mean, we'll get to the rest of the parts. So, I mean, you know, you gotta wait. You know, be patient in there, you guys. Like usual. Right? Police said a vehicle appears... Hold on. That's what a grotto, sort of like that. It must be kind of like a cave, like a little area where it opens up. I mean, I guess there's probably going to be a definition. As a natural or artificial cave used by humans in both modern times and antiquity. So, a cave. Kezar said 2 Forest Grove prospectors Allen. Okay, there we go. And then we're right here. Police said a vehicle apparently was used to bring the Cowdens or their bodies to the area. Yeah, except why would he be up on the side of a bank unless animals drug him there 100%, right? Police lack killing clues. State police say they have no leads in the deaths of 4 members of a Southern Oregon family. The Richard Cowden family vanished from a campsite near Copper last September 1st. Yeah, so they don't have any information. The other bodies were found stuffed in a cave nearby. So Mr. William, but not William, what was his name again? His first name? Yeah, Richard. He was found on the side of a hill, and all 3, the wife and 5-year-old child and a 5-month child, were all found in a cave. And then services were held for the slain family. Memorial services were conducted Friday for the 4 members of the Cowden family who disappeared mysteriously last summer. Their skeletons were found last weekend. 2 of the 4 had been shot in the head. About 200 people attended the services. Burial is scheduled for Monday at the White City National Cemetery. See, I have a feeling that Belinda was the... when you look at it, you go, well, a killer out there... this sort of remember the case that we discussed maybe, I don't know, a month ago? It was in a rural area, and there was this guy, and he ended up killing the entire family, even the kids and everything. And it was for a sexual assault. Do you guys remember that one? This one reminds me of that a lot. I think it was even in 1950s or something. Or early 60s. Alright. So then there wasn't really much in the papers at all after that. But then in 1980, we've got this guy. A Tigard man, so Tigard, Oregon. It's not too far from here, actually. A Tigard man charged last week with rape and attempted murder is a suspect in the 1974 shotgun death of a family. Wow, so that was shotgun, not bullets. Interesting. Dwayne L. Little, 31, was charged last week with raping and stabbing a Tigard woman on June 2nd. He was held in the Washington County Jail with a bail of $1 million. This is 1980. That's a huge bond. Yeah, let me just get through this thing, okay? Little was paroled in April 1977 against the recommendations of the state police from a prison sentence for a 1966 rape and murder of a 16-year-old Springfield girl. We went over that, Zozo. The mom and the 2 kids were found in the cave. The husband was up on a steep hill. All 4 had been shot in the head at close range. So this is about that one. See, he had been paroled earlier, but was returned to prison. This part is crazy right here. So in 1966, he raped and murdered somebody. He was paroled. I can't find that, but sometime in like 1972 or 3, and then he was returned to prison in May of 1975. So that means he obviously was paroled prior to September 1974. So he barely... Oh, jeez. What other case? Yeah, that's the one where the mom and the girl were found, I think, separate from the dad and the son. Yeah. Remember, he was the dad. In the other case, the dad was on top of the son, and then they found the mother and a daughter elsewhere. Okay, This one sort of feels similar, and it's not, obviously isn't the same person. But Captain Robert Brickeen of the State Criminal Division in Portland said Little was prime suspect in the killing of Richard Cowden, 28, his wife Brenda, 28, and their 2 children, David, 5, and Melissa, 5 months, of White City. All 4 had been shot in the head at close range. So I don't know how the guy only served maybe 5 or 6 years in prison for murder. I mean, he was. We're going to go over that next. So I'm going to detour off of this right here in a second. All 4 had been shot in the head at close range. Their bodies were found in a cave about 200 yards from their campsite, which was 25 miles southwest of Medford. The killer or killers have not been apprehended. That's not true right here. Their bodies were found in a cave 200 yards. That's not accurate. His body was found 200 yards from them, and they were found 6.5 miles northwest of the campsite. So this is an error right there. The Oregonian newspaper in Portland quoted a retired state trooper as saying state police determined that Little had stayed overnight a few miles north of Cowden's campsite on the day after. Oh, wow, look at this. The Oregonian newspaper in Portland quoted a retired state trooper as saying state police determined that Little had stayed overnight a few miles north of the Cowden's campsite on the day after their disappearance in 1974. Man, that's too coincidental. However, police were unable to gather enough evidence to bring murder charges. The retired state trooper said Cowden refused an offer to take a lie detector test in connection with the Cowden's death in exchange for dropping the firearm charge. Little then served 2 more years. Wow. So let's see. The retired state trooper said Cowden refused. That's the name of this individual. Cowden refused. I think whoever wrote this is like batty. The retired state trooper said Cowden refused. Not Cowden, Little refused. Cowden's the victim, okay? Right? See, whoever wrote this article, they were either stoned or something, probably like that one YouTuber out there. But look at this. So the retired state trooper said Little refused an offer to take the lie detector test in connection with the Cowden's deaths in exchange for dropping the firearm charge. Little then served 2 more years. We begged and groveled with the parole board on this one, trying to keep that prisoner in, the Oregonian newspaper in Portland quoted an unidentified state police trooper as saying. We gave them everything. We went up, we sent up reports and even sent up people to talk with them to keep him off the streets, and they elected to turn him loose. Wow. Little's file at the state parole board showed that State Corrections Division psychiatrist George Bishel recommended parole following visits with Little. Yeah, okay. See, this guy right here is a pile of shit. Hey, George Bishel, you're a dipshit, okay? Bishel said Little's attitude had changed since his initial jailing as a 17-year-old. Right, what is he, 22 now? I feel really good about this young man, Bishel wrote in a 1976 psychiatric report to the parole board. I would be awfully surprised if he returns to this institution again, and recommended his parole. There's overwhelming evidence to support. See what I mean? Portland never gets any different. That's how they are right now. Just absolute wackadoodle idiots. There's overwhelming evidence to support his release on a psychiatric basis. Parole board member Ira Blaylock said, and the state didn't have any evidence that would allow them to charge him with anything. I don't know what you do about people who are suspects, Blaylock said. I don't know whether the parole board should be used to find people guilty of murder when the evidence isn't strong enough to find them guilty in the courts. I'm not sure the parole board should be used in that fashion. Blaylock said a similar case today would not result in parole because persons sentenced to life in prison must serve at least 25 years before being considered for parole. Well, there you go. He only had to serve 6 years. All right, now we're switching over to Dwayne Lee Little. So then I went back in time and looked into this guy. And right here, Springfield girl found slain. So this is 1966. The body of Orla Faye Phipps, and I actually looked her up too. And, 1962, she was putting items in fairs, and she got second a few times in prizes and stuff. So she was actually listed in the newspaper. There aren't going to be 2 Orla Phipps out there, and she was a young kid, and she'd been, so she was this little active kid. Just monsters everywhere, everybody. But anyways, this guy, the body of Orla Faye Phipps, 16 of Springfield, was found in the brushy, wooded area, Cedar Flats area, 2 miles east of the city limits. So this is Springfield, Oregon. That should be about 100 and something miles. We used to go there in college. Yes, this is Springfield, Oregon. Found in the brushy, wooded area, Cedar Flats. Let's see if that's still there. Yeah, that's there. Cedar Flat Road. Springfield was found in the brushy, wooded area, Cedar Flats area, 2 miles east of the city limits. So that seems about right. We'll just say she was found somewhere out here. There goes my stomach. Orla Phipps. Yeah, it's near Eugene. Yeah. It's like Eugene's little brother. There's a Lane Community College there. A state police officer said her throat had been cut with a sharp object. This is 1966. With a sharp object, he said there was some preliminary evidence the attack was sexually motivated. State police and sheriff deputies sealed off the area until a pathologist and state crime lab oratory personnel began investigation about 7:30 a.m. Laboratory. It said lab oratory. I was like, where'd that come from? So a state crime laboratory personnel began an investigation about 7:30. The girl's daughter, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. William Orley Phipps, had gone horseback riding at about 4:15 p.m. on Monday. So this little girl was just horseback riding. Neighbors, Explorer Scouts, and the Walterville Fire Department started a search 3 hours later after her riderless horse was discovered. The body was found shortly before 10 p.m. Yeah, this is absolutely crazy. So ride on horseback. Let's see. Horseback riding after school was daily ritual for 16-year-old Orla Faye Phipps, a blonde, active high school junior. So while we're going over this, try to picture, this is, we're leading up to Dwayne Lee Little, the main suspect in the case of the Cowden family murders. But this is 1966 now, so we are now 9 years prior to the incident of the family being killed. So frequently her 15-year-old brother or some friends went along in case the horse should throw her. Monday, however, Orla went out alone. When she failed to return home for dinner, her parents were immediately concerned. She always had been on time. Neighbors joined William Orley Phipps, a construction worker, in a search for his daughter, Among the searchers was Roy Stuckey, 21, one of four brothers of a neighborhood family near this Western Oregon community. Soon the horse was found riderless in a nearby forest area. Police were called and the search was expanded. Roy Stuckey was walking up a steep trail in the evening darkness when his flashlight beamed on Orla. She was lying face up in the brush just off the trail. Her clothes were ripped and her throat had been cut. Police sealed off the area and left the body untouched until a pathologist and crime laboratory officials could examine the scene. The area remained closed Tuesday as police combed it for clues. No arrests have been reported. And quiet, friendly girl, Orla, 5 feet 8. So she's pretty tall, 5'8", 135 pounds, 16-year-old, was known among her high school classmates as a quiet, friendly girl. She sang in the school choir and took part in sports, but her big interest was horseback riding. She lived to ride horses, said a school employee whose daughter used to ride with Orla. William Fry Lane County District Attorney said the killing was a sex slang, the county's first in 4 years. In 1960, a 7-year-old was strangled to death after being taken from a bean field in Lane County. Her murder has never been found. Wow, that's another unsolved. This is more heinous, Fry said. Now, she was 16 years old. Yeah. Hunter type man. So they're looking for a hunter type man. A man dressed as a hunter who was seen near the site of the slaying of a 16-year-old Orla Faye Phipps Monday is being sought by authorities. District Attorney William Fry said the development came out of talks with other police agencies. The presence of the man was reported to police by a resident of the Springfield area who said he was picking apples in the wooded area near where the girl was bludgeoned, stabbed, and assaulted. He told police he encountered the hunter sometime Monday between 4:30 and nightfall. The girl was last seen alive while riding in the area near her home. Her riderless horse was found Monday night, and police placed the time of death sometime between 4:45 and 7. Clothing from the victim and other evidence was still being examined. Yeah, so this is we're still back in 1964 here. Alright, now we've got Portlander quizzed in girl's murder. A Portland man who was arrested Thursday and charged with raping 2 suburban Eureka women also was being questioned about the Monday rape slaying of a Springfield, Oregon high school girl. John M. Stell, 24, was charged with burglary and with assault with a deadly weapon after the 2 women, aged 21 and 24, were raped at a residence. Police said the older woman was pistol whipped before her husband returned. The rapist fled. So anyways, I don't think that's the person. Lane County law enforcement agencies continue their search Saturday for the rapist killer of 16-year-old Orla Phipps. There was a hitchhiker that was held on a concealed weapon charge, but a knife found on him was not the one used in the girl's slaying. Another possible suspect, John M. Stell of Portland, so that's the same one. That guy didn't turn out to be the suspect. And now we're going to another one. Tipster 15 slew girl, say police. So here we go. A 15-year-old boy has been arrested for the slaying November 2nd of Orla Faye Phipps, 16, whose body was found in a wooded area east of Springfield. Fry identified the boy as Dwayne Lee Harden. That's weird. That's his last name is not as changed. So Dwayne Lee Harden, whom he said lived about a mile from where the girl was found in the Cedar Flats area. Fry said the arrest was made on the basis of findings submitted Wednesday by the State Crime Laboratory. State Police Corporal Jack Winchester and Deputy Sheriff Philip Imsminger made the arrest. The boy was lodged in Skipworth Juvenile Home here. Fry said Hardin, who would not be 16 years old December 20th, and let's see. Fry said Hardin would not be 16 years old until December 20th and could not be prosecuted in adult court until he was 16, and then only if juvenile court approved it. He indicated he may seek prosecution in circuit court. The district attorney said the boy was the youth who supplied detailed information on a reported stranger seen in the area. Ah, interesting. So this is the person who said that they saw a person wearing camo. And also given an artist information from which a composite drawing of a suspect was made. Wow. So they're arresting the person who came forward and gave a description of the killer wearing camo. So it's obviously not going to look like him, right? Orla Faye had gone horseback riding the afternoon of November 2nd. Her horse was found about 7 p.m. and her body was found at 10:30 that night. Fry said Hardin was a student at Springfield Junior Academy in nearby Pleasant Hill. The girl was a junior at Thurston High School, just east. Man, I drank something that had milk in it. My stomach's just going crazy on me. It's like, all right. "15-year-old accused in Eugene girl's death." I think that's basically the same as the last one. All right. Is this interesting for you guys? Because this, right now, we're backtracking and going over the history of this person. And that was really interesting a little while ago when they said he was camping near them. Pastor says youth denies girl slaying. A 15-year-old boy was quoted Friday as denying he killed Orla Phipps. They got the wrong person. This is the biggest mistake they've ever made. They were printed in the Oregon Journal, which said they were reported by a minister. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, they were quotations. Miss Phipps failed to return home from a horseback ride after school. She was found dead in the woods, her clothing ripped and her throat cut. Hardin lived a mile from the scene. He told police he had seen a hunter in the area that day. Insinuating himself into the case. See, this guy right here is a sociopath. I mean, he is like, this is his first foray into killing at this age. Youth indicted in slaying of Springfield girl. A grand jury indicted a 15-year-old boy Monday on a charge that he killed a 16-year-old girl. The boy, Dwayne Lee Hardin of Springfield, had been held in a juvenile home since November 18th. All right, so at this point they still have him as Dwayne Lee Hardin. And then, let's see. Court moves youth case. Dwayne Lee Hardin appeared in Lane County Circuit Court Wednesday and said his real name is Dwayne Little. There you go. See, he actually corrected his name. He was using a fake name prior to that. The youth appeared in answer. Let's see. The youth appeared in answer to a grand jury indictment charging him with first-degree murder in November 2nd, death of Orla Phipps. His case was promptly remanded to the juvenile court by Judge Edwin Allen. Oregon law does not permit persons under 16 to be prosecuted in adult court. Hardin will be 16 on December 20th. The juvenile court has been asked by District Attorney William Fry to hold the youth and then remand him to circuit court when he's 16. Fry said the boy probably will continue to be known as Harden. His remark today is the first time, to my knowledge, he has said his name is Little, Fry said. Alright. And then girl's body disinterred. So this is in December, not too long after that. The body of a 16-year-old Orla Phipps Springfield, raped and slain, was removed temporarily from its tomb Tuesday and examined by Dr. Russell C. Henry. Henry is an Oregon chief medical examiner. The girl's body earlier had been examined by Dr. Keith McMillan, Eugene pathologist. Entombment at the Springfield Memorial Cemetery took place following funeral services November 7th. Meanwhile, attorneys in the case will argue Monday. So, I mean, it took a long time. So there was a trial, a date that was set. I think this one right here, when they finally brought him to court, he pled. His actual plea is not guilty. Springfield pled innocent in circuit court. Little is accused of the slaying of Orla Faye Phipps. All right, so this is 1965. So even this is before I'm even born here, this stuff right here. So he pleads innocent. And then there's all these court shenanigans for like 2 years. Then the case actually goes to trial. And I got that stuff. So here's the jury selection. Started on January 24th, 1966. So, yeah, it took almost 2 years. Well, I guess maybe it didn't take as long as, maybe about a year. But it was supposed to be, it kept being continued and continued and continued. Lane jury visits site of crime. So now the trial's starting. A Lane County Circuit Court jury visited the scene of the crime Wednesday in the first-degree murder trial of a 17-year-old Dwayne Little. So now he's 17. Little is accused of stabbing to death a neighbor, 16-year-old Orla Phipps, in a wooded area near their home east of Springfield. Little's attorney, Otto Skopel, said in his opening statement Wednesday that at the time of the girl was slain, Little was picking apples so his mother could bake him a pie. Wow. So Little was just out baking a pie, and he saw this girl on a horse, and his urges took over. Skopel said Little later participated in the search for the girl. Wow. So he even, see, that's why when people say, you know, check who was in the search parties, because a lot of times killers insert themselves into cases. District Attorney William Fry described the girl's death. He said she'd been stabbed 5 times and had bled to death. Most of the day was spent visiting the place where the girl's body was found. So I'm trying to, when you listen to this, try to picture maybe how this might have gone in the Cowden family murder. 2 witnesses, although in his case, see, this is when he was a kid, he probably didn't own a gun. 2 witnesses for the state testified Thursday that Dwayne Little, on trial for first-degree murder, was with Orla Faye Phipps the day she was killed. Little, a 17-year-old Springfield youth, is charged in the death of Miss Phipps, 16, on November 2nd, 1964. Her body was found in a wooded area southwest of Springfield. When the trial resumes Friday, Lloyd Smith, 17-year-old neighbor of Little, will take the stand again. He was the last of 9 witnesses called by the state Thursday. Smith said he saw Little riding down a hill the day of the death on his motorbike. 5 witnesses said they saw the girl ride her horse up the hill. 2 of them said they saw the 2 together. Miss W.O. Phipps, the slain girl's mother, said she last saw her daughter at about 4 p.m. when she left her home on her horse. Alright, so that was on the 28th of January. This one's the 29th. Let's see. Key state witnesses Lloyd Smith admitted in circuit court Friday that he had something the police, Smith, I think this might be somewhere else in here. Let's see. Smith, 17, is testifying in the first-degree murder trial of Dwayne Lee Little. Alright, so right here it said, key state witness Lloyd Smith admitted in circuit court Friday that he had lied to police at least 5 times when questioned in the investigation of the slaying of Orla Faye Phipps. Smith, 17, is testifying in the first-degree murder trial of Dwayne Lee Little. Hey, thanks, Amber Maiden. Yes, a freak wave. We're about 60% right now of the goal. We try to get between like 250 and 300 a night from all the different people, so that we can do what we've been doing. I know it's hard, but I was that old, right, George? Awesome, buddy. I don't know where you read it, George. You always have some troll-like comments, though, I can tell you that. Just about every single time, George. Do you ever just show up and like try to learn something in a case, you know, like go through it with everybody else and, you know, try to picture what's going on and, you know, this is an unsolved homicide. You ever thought of that? Thank you, Amber Maiden. Amber Maiden's attempting a wave, everybody. Alright, so it says, under cross-examination, Smith admitted that on the tape recording, he had not told the truth more than 5 times. He said he had not told the truth because he was afraid police would implicate him in the slaying. He said he began telling the truth the day before the trial when police asked him if he would undergo a lie detector test. So what is he lying about? Smith also admitted that he had wanted the Phipps girl for his girlfriend. 3 other witnesses, including the slain girl's father, William O. Phipps, were called to witness stand Friday afternoon. The trial was adjourned until Monday morning. Alright, here we go. Yeah, you gave it a shot, Amber. Thanks. You give it a whirl. Pathologist testifies at Little trial. Thanks, Dan Carr. A bag of Honeycrisp, huh? I was thinking of sucking one of those down here pretty soon. A pathologist gave statistical evidence Monday in the sixth day of a Dwayne Little first-degree murder trial. Little, 17, is charged in the November 2nd, 1964 slaying of a neighbor. The largest wound was 4 inches long, severed the jugular vein, part of a large artery and part of a windpipe, and a key neck muscle. Wow. Thanks, Mary Glaviana. The wound alone would have killed her in minutes. She also suffered a stunning blow on the head with a blunt instrument. The murder weapon could not have been a razor blade or a hunting knife. Because of the nature of the wound, the murder weapon could have been a small pocket knife. The body had been sexually assaulted. So he sexually assaulted her after he killed her. I'm sure, I have a feeling he killed her first. The girl bled to death. Through Monday, the state had called 22 witnesses. At the morning session, the slain girl's brother, Floyd Phipps, 16, said he considered that he and the defendant are still friends. Wow. He said he had regarded Little as a pretty good friend in the past. He was asked if he still so regarded him, and he said yes. And how could you say that? Jeez. The brother said that when a search was underway for the missing girl, Little volunteered to help. He seemed to be acting normally, the brother said. Well, doesn't that make you hate him now because he was full of shit the whole time? The neighbor testified that he came upon the girl's body in a field not far from the intersection of the 2 overgrown logging skid roads. I wonder if it's up here. Officer testifies in murder trial. The chief investigator in the Dwayne Little murder case resumes testimony today on the 8th day of the 17-year-old Little trial in the slaying of a neighbor girl. Little is charged with first-degree murder. Yep. Was expected to tell today of 3 conversations he had with Little. 2 of the conversations were on the day after Phipps' girl's death. The third was 5 days after her death. Winchester, who studied light conditions at the place the body was found exactly 1 year after the slaying, was not allowed Tuesday to testify regarding his findings. There has been testimony in the trial concerning whether it was daylight or dusk when Little was seen at various places in the area. The state presented hair, blood, and saliva samples. Mass of technical evidence given in murder trial. A mass of technical evidence was presented Thursday in the 7th day of the trial. Little is charged in the death. Data introduced Tuesday by the state included clothing and various samples of hair, blood, and saliva. So I think that's about the same as the last one. And the third, blood stains reported at Little trial. A Eugene police detective testified Wednesday in the first-degree murder trial that a jacket and a pair of blue jeans belonging to the defendant, Dwayne Little, had blood stains on them. Captain Oakley Glenn said they were checked November 3, 1964, the day after the body of Orla Phipps, 16, was found in the Cedar Flats area near their Springfield residence. But he said he was unable to say whether the blood was animal or human. Earlier in the day, the chief investigator in the case said, Police Corporal Jack... I mean, that's why DNA is so important now, because you could just take a sample, compare it, and boom, the guy's busted. Winchester testified that when he visited Little's home to talk to the youth November 8th, he found a pair of shorts and a pair of socks belonging to Little in a hamper and sent them to the laboratory. He said finding resulted in the arrest and charges. District Attorney William Fry said he expects to wind up presentation of the state's case by noon Friday. Okay, so this is a important piece coming up here. Hair links Little to murder site. Hairs found on clothing worn by Orla Phipps at the time she was slain east of Springfield were described today as identical to the hair of Dwayne Little, 17-year-old youth on trial for murder. The testimony was given today by State Police Sergeant Robert Pinnock. Pinnock testified about findings he made after comparing 26 human hairs and 5 animal hairs under a microscope. Of the 26 human hairs, 20 were microscopically identical to the hair of Little, he said. The state, nearing the end of its case, was seeking to place Little at the murder scene through the results of Pinnock's finding. Pinnock also testified Thursday. The trial is in its 10th day. All right, and then... The knife the state alleges was used to slay 16-year-old Orla Faye Phipps in an abandoned orchard November 1964 was introduced as evidence. Circuit Judge Roland Rodman allowed the exhibit despite strong protests from Little's attorneys. Little is accused of stabbing the girl to death in the Cedar Flats area east of Springfield. So, they got the knife in there. Then on the 8th, what did that say down at the bottom? Testifying during the 9th day of the trial Thursday was Sergeant Robert Pinnock of the Oregon State Crime Laboratory in Portland. He said examination of the clothes the prosecution maintains Little wore on the day of the slaying showed traces of blood. The trial was in its 10th day. A youth murder defense begins. The defense opened its case by calling 8 witnesses As the first-degree murder trial of 17-year-old Dwayne Little started, witnesses Monday included Mrs. Margaret Little, mother of the defendant, who testified he returned home from school the afternoon of November 2nd, picked some apples for her, and later helped search for the Phipps girl. There was nothing unusual about the condition of his clothing when he returned from picking apples, she testified. Hey, thank you, Mountain Jam 71. The defense began its presentation after Judge Roland Rodman denied its motion for directed verdict of acquittal. The state concluded its case Friday. It called 33 witnesses. Wow. Not on that day, but throughout the trial. Jury to get Little's case. So they got the case on the 9th, and then on the 10th, it comes back with, let's see, Dwayne Little, convicted earlier today of first-degree murder in 1964, rape, slaying of a neighbor girl, will be sentenced Friday in Lane County. The conviction carries a mandatory life sentence. Little, 17, was convicted in the death, November 2nd, 1964, of Orla Faye Phipps. And when the verdict was read, Little registered no emotion. His mother appeared shaken. Right, because he knew he was guilty. Thank you, freaks. Little's sentence is life, so he gets life in prison. Little was convicted of first-degree murder. The youth appeared visibly shaken and left the courtroom hurriedly after spending a few minutes with his father, sister, and grandmother, who attended the 5-minute-long proceedings. Right. Well, it didn't mean diddly. I mean, he was barely in prison. You know, so convicted killers denied appeal. He tried appeals. This is 1968. And then 69, something similar. If it opens. Yeah, conviction claims. Seizure was illegal. Convict claims. So he was trying to, U.S. District Court judge has been asked to overturn the conviction of a Springfield man because his attorney claims police obtained evidence through illegal search and seizure. Yeah, so anyways, that didn't work either. Okay, he tried everything. That was 1969. Then I think he must have got out in maybe like 73 or so. And then what were we doing here? We were on, yeah, we got to the trial. Oh yeah, so go back to Dwayne Little here. There's a lot of files here. Alright, so then we go to 1975, okay? So now this is a year after a year after that family was killed. The Cowden family. Alright, so this is May 7th, 1975. And this is only like a month, 3 weeks after the bodies were found. Dwayne Little, 26, convicted of the November 1964 knife slaying of a Springfield area girl, has been jailed here on a charge of being an ex-convict in possession of a firearm. So look at, now he's got a firearm on him. And just 5 months earlier, or actually about 7 or 8 months earlier, is when the Cowden family was murdered. And remember, he was in the area the day after. Now, he only served like 6 years. I mean, it was ridiculous. Little was convicted of the murder of Orla Faye Phipps, 15, of Cedar Flat, east of Springfield. He was tried as an adult after he became 16 and was sentenced to life in prison and later paroled. I mean, it's crazy. He was paroled. I mean, he got in there in 66 and he was out in, I mean, shit, what is that, 7 years maybe? Bail in the weapons case was set at $20,000. Little was defended in the well-publicized trial first by Ed Fadley of Eugene, now in the state senate, and then by Otto Scopel, currently a judge in U.S. District Court. So that was May 7th, and then we've got, let's see, August 2nd. Oh yeah, look at this. August 2nd. Dwayne Lee Little, 26. Here it says Jacksonville Seaman and Rhonda Lucille Potter, they got married. Or at least they got a marriage license. And that was in Salem's newspaper, so it's got to be him. There isn't going to be two Dwayne Lee Littles at the same exact age. Okay, so we got that. And then we go to 1980 here. $1 million bail ordered for parole inquiry. So this is the same guy. Dwayne Lee Little, 31, of Tigard, who was on parole from a 1966 murder rape conviction in Springfield, was being held on $1 million bail today after his arrest on a charge of the attempted murder and rape of a 23-year-old woman. When Little was 17, he was convicted of murdering a 16-year-old Springfield girl who lived in his neighborhood, but he was 15 at the time. He was picked up for questioning Monday night after a Tigard woman was found near the junction of Interstate 5 and Interstate 205, so I know where that is. It's way up here. I-5. That's Highway 20. Should be way up here. There it is. So it's like right here. Somewhere around in this area. State Trooper Greg Schenkel said the woman who had been driving on Oregon 99 West in Tigard. See, look how similar. See, I think these predators just kind of do this. Look at it. Look how this sounds like last night's case. Now, the State Trooper Greg Schenkel said the woman had been driving on Oregon 99 West in Tigard when her car broke down. She began hitchhiking and accepted a ride from a man she believed she recognized. Schenkel said the man later took her to the I-205 on-ramp from southbound I-5 where he tried to rape her. The woman escaped from the car and rolled down a highway embankment after the attacker slashed or I guess it must be slashed is what they meant to say, one of her arms and a leg with a knife, Schenkel said. Little's first arrest was when he was 15 years old. He was charged with killing Orla Faye it's Phipps though. It's not Flips. A neighbor girl in Springfield in 1964. He was convicted of murder in February 1966 and sentenced to life. He was paroled initially in July 1974, but that parole was revoked 10 months later when he was arrested for having a rifle in his pickup truck. He returned to prison and was paroled again in April of 1977. All right. Then June 10th, 1980, Tigard rape suspect went free. See, look at this. This is an important article here. This one. A Tigard man charged last week with rape and attempted murder was freed from prison in 1977. So keep in mind, that's actually after his second release, and then he went back into prison, and then he was released again, despite the fact that police told the Oregon Board of Parole he was the prime suspect in the shotgun deaths of a White City, Oregon family, authorities said Monday. Dwayne Lee Little, 31, who was charged last week with raping and stabbing a Tigard woman, on June 2nd, was considered a prime suspect in the murder investigation of 28-year-old Richard Cowden, his wife, and 2 children. Authorities in Southern Oregon and in Washington County also confirmed Monday that Little is suspected of the 1974 Jackson County killings. Before he was paroled, Little had been in prison for a 1966 conviction for raping and murdering a 16-year-old Springfield girl. Little is in the Washington County Jail on charges stemming from the June 2nd attack, with bail set at $1 million. He had been out on parole for 38 months before his arrest. We begged and groveled with the Board of Parole on this one, trying to keep that prisoner in, one state police trooper who asked not to be identified said on Monday. We gave them everything. We sent up reports and even sent up people to talk with them to try to keep him off the streets, and they elected to turn him loose. According to Little's file at the Board of Parole State Corrections Division, psychiatrist Dr. George Bishel recommended parole, saying that Little's attitude had improved. So I think we read some of this before. Let's see. Little was freed by the parole board in July. Look at that. July of 1974. There you go. That's the date I was looking for. He was paroled July of 1974 after being convicted in 66 of murder. So he was only in there for maybe 8 years, maybe 9 or 10 if he was held since the time he was arrested. But and then the murders of the Cowden family took place in September. So 2 months later, he's got his sexual urges and fantasies building up in prison. And then it turns out that he's camping like a couple miles away the day after the Cowden family was murdered. I think this guy is really likely the killer. During Little's first parole, Richard Cowden, so it was on 1974. That parole was revoked 10 months later. Little remained in prison on until his second parole, April 26th. So they brought him back in on a weapons violation. And remember that? It was 1975 in May, I believe. So he was out for, they said 10 months. That's exactly right. So May 1975, he went in on a weapons violation. So he had that little 10-month window. So he was out. During Little's first parole, Richard Cowden and his family disappeared. They had been camping about 25 miles southwest of Medford. Nearly 7.5 months later, Cowden and his wife Brenda, 28, and their 2 children, David, were found in a shallow cave about 200 yards from their campsite. See, that I don't think that's right. Because remember early on it was 6.5 miles. It was like 6 miles west. I don't know. I think that's totally wrong. He was found 200 yards. See, this is the part that's wrong, is Cowden and his wife Brenda, David 5 and Melissa 5 months were found. No, they weren't. Richard Cowden here was found up an embankment. Brenda and the children were found 200 yards away in a cave. Right? So that part's wrong right there. State medical examiner Dr. William Brady said Richard Cowden's body was too badly decomposed to determine the exact cause. State police later determined that Little had stayed overnight a few miles north of the Cowden's campsite on the day after their disappearance. A retired trooper disclosed to the Oregonian on Monday. A man closely matching Little's description and driving a car identical to Little's also was seen in the area before the disappearances. Oh boy. Police said that although Little became the prime suspect in the killings, police were unable to gather enough evidence to bring charges in May 1975. We had to stretch like hell to find this because we didn't have any other way to get him off the streets, said the trooper. The trooper said that after Little was arrested, he was offered but refused the chance to take a polygraph test on the Cowden case in exchange for dropping the gun charge. Instead, so he didn't want to take that polygraph test. Isn't that crazy? So he would rather have spent 2 more years in prison. So look at, the trooper said that Little was arrested. He was off. So they actually arrested him on suspicion of the murder of the Cowden families back then. See, I mean, at the time, this isn't something that like they developed later and were like, hey, you know, it says right here. The trooper said that after Little was arrested, he was offered but refused the chance to take a polygraph test on, I don't know if that means which arrests they're talking about. Actually, it's kind of hard to determine. A polygraph test on the Cowden case in exchange for dropping the gun charge. That's right, yeah, because in May 1975, he was arrested. So it is at that time. He was arrested and offered, hey, do you want to we'll do a polygraph test and we'll drop the gun charges. And he said no and was willing to go back to prison for 2 years so that he didn't have to do the polygraph test. That is absolutely damning if you ask me. I mean, that is, I mean, you aren't going to take a polygraph test and say, well, I'll just go back to prison for 2 years. Screw that, because I'll get the death penalty. Right? I think it's almost Apple time, you guys. I wasn't going to do Apple, but since we slowed down so dramatically after the early prison sentence, it's got to be done. Is anybody even still there? Like, the chat is not moving at all. Well, I don't know if he died in prison or I haven't looked up that. I don't know if he's still alive. If anybody wants to go check, go. Feel free to do so. Actually, let's try a Ben verified thing. Ben verified. His name is, I think it is too, Jessica. I think that's absolutely 100%. He did it. I mean, there's no way in hell he would, so check it out. Their bodies are found in April 1975. He's arrested in May 1975 on a weapons charge because they were looking at him. And then they said, hey, I'll tell you what, we'll drop the weapons charge so you don't have to go back to prison if you agree to take a polygraph test. And he said, no way. And he went back there for 2 years just to avoid taking that. There's no chance that he didn't do it. Hey, thanks, JD. Well, I have to get the apple going. Hold on. Get the apple, and we've got, we're going to get that stem and the first bite out of the way. No, 2 bites now. There we go. But I'm going to look him up on Ben Verified here in a second. That was so loud. And by the way, there's nothing back there. Let me see if I can get this thing fixed. Hold on. All right, apple time. Do you think that's pretty shaky? That he wouldn't take the polygraph test? There's nobody out there that would go, yeah, I'll serve 2 more years in prison. Unless they were guilty. Thanks. The mayor, Billy Juliana. Yep. So this is a time if you can help support the channel and keep doing what we're doing. Building up our 4th DNA case. Here we go. Here we go. Jennifer. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Billy Giuliano. And he's already been in there. It's a freaking nightmare being in prison. And he's willing to endure 2 more years of hell merely to avoid the possibility that he would fail the lie detector test. I think he knew he would fail it. That's right. And behind the apple is blue. We always struggle on the apple. We get stuck here for a while. At least, you know, I feel good about the. At least when I'm in prison, you guys help get me out. When it's an apple, it's, you know, it's not as big a deal. Well, I guess we're just going to stare at this apple for a long time. Looks like pure evil on the outside. I've got a picture of him I can show you guys too. Got a picture. And we've still got about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then an actual sort of a more recent article coming out. Hey, thanks, Patty Barnett. There we go. Oh, and Billy G on again. There we go. Oh, look at cute Blue sleeping in the background. All right. Oh, and there's Amber Maiden, Living It, and Tina. Here we go. You want to see Blue? Okay. 1. 2, and thank you, and bang! There he is. Let me get it closer to him. There he is. There he is. Hey, thanks Linda Howe and Lola's mom. Look at that. Look at Blue. He's so cute right there. That's weird how the camera had such a wide, much more wide angle lens on it than before. I wonder if something got fixed recently. Oh yeah, the dog isn't bad either. Okay, thanks. You know, if I had Blue on a green screen, I could actually put myself behind the head there. Yeah, it's like a hat. See? I'm like a human hat on Blue's head right there. Oh yeah. Like a stocking cap with my head on it. Almost like the paint chip. Right? Yeah, look at that, huh? Hey Blue, I'm scratching your head, Blue. Oh, wow, I woke you up. It's okay, Blue. You don't have to look over here. Don't worry. It's okay, Blue. Go back to bed. I didn't mean to get him to... well, they made comments in the paper, Charles. Yeah. Hey, Blue. Go get it, Blue. Yep, so mean. He was nice and sleepy. Now he's looking over here. There. That's right. So mean. Anyway. Blue's like, I don't know, it must be 8 now, maybe 7 or 8. I don't know. I think she's in another room. All right, guys, back to the story. All right, so we're about it. I think we're in the middle of this one here. State police later determined that Little had stayed overnight a few miles north of the Cowden's campsite on the day after the disappearance. A retired trooper disclosed to the Oregonian on Monday. A man closely matching Little's description and driving a car identical to Little also was seen in the area before the disappearance. Police said that although Little became the prime suspect in the killing, police were unable to gather enough evidence to bring charges. In May 1975, police assembled what one trooper called a very circumstantial and vague case accusing Little of carrying a firearm, which was a violation of his parole agreement. We had to stretch like hell to find this because we didn't have any other way to get him off the street, said the trooper, who asked not to be identified. I was wondering, that seemed like a tactic when they said that, to get him in for questioning and use that as a bargaining chip. The trooper said that after Little was arrested, he was offered but refused the chance to take a polygraph test on the Cowden case in exchange for dropping the gun charge. Instead, Little spent 2 years in prison before being released on April 26, 1977. So he was free and chose to go back to prison for 2 more years instead of taking a lie detector test. That's amazing. In Salem, Blaylock said the board was not given any hard evidence at the time of Little's release that persuaded them to keep him in the penitentiary. Now they're talking about when he was released in 1977. There is overwhelming evidence to support his release on a psychiatric basis, Blaylock said Monday. And the state police, this is a 1980 article, and the state police didn't have any evidence that would allow them to charge him with anything. Blaylock said the fact that Little had been in prison since he was 17 was a factor in granting his parole, and that if the prosecutor had tried him as a juvenile rather than remand him to adult court, Little would have been freed in 1970 at the very latest. Well, yeah, but they didn't. They put him in there as an adult. I mean, you get that, right? Like, Blaylock said that a similar case today would not result in parole because criminals sentenced to life imprisonment must now serve at least 25 years. Alright, so then there's some weird stuff in here. A 31-year-old tigered man's attempt to escape from custody while he was being transported to the Oregon State Penitentiary was thwarted earlier this week. This is 1980. This is only 2 days after that article we just read. When another prisoner helped subdue the man, corrections officials reported. Washington County Correction officers said Dwayne Little was being transported Monday afternoon with 2 other prisoners when he asked Officer Clarence Hendrick to let him use a restroom at a state rest stop just south of Wilsonville on I know exactly where that is. That's crazy. That's actually the rest area next to where I play golf at Langdon Farms Golf Course. So here, where is it? I-5. It's right on the golf course. Is that it right there? Hey, that's not
Hi,
it.
Gray and Freaks.
Hey, thanks.
So glad you cover these older cases.
Thank you, Lisa Wilkerson. That's it right there, I believe. Is it? Maybe not. I don't think so. No, that's... Here, let me go to Langdon Farms. Okay, farther up. So there it is. Right here, and so this Tiger's right there. The area that was mentioned there. So he asked to get off of, no, Wilsonville I meant. Wilsonville is right in that area and is on Interstate 5. And so Wilsonville's right here. See that sign? It actually says it right there on the screen. And then there's this golf course right here. But there's a rest area right here. Not right there, right south of it. Right on the edge of the, you actually see it. Wait, I-5's over here, sorry. So here's part of the golf course. You actually go underneath this Portland Hubbard Highway right here to get to some of these holes over here. And here's I-5. And then right past I-5 right here is the rest area. And I think that's the one they're talking about. And yeah, and they would have been heading north and they would have pulled into that one. That's exactly right. Crazy. Thanks, Vid Inquiries.
From Ohio. Hop aboard. Victory hand.
Thanks, Vid Inquiries. Let's see. So asked Officer Clarence Hendrick to let him use a restroom at a state rest stop just south of Wilsonville on Interstate 5. Hendrick took Little and another prisoner, Larry Wheeler, into the restroom and removed one of Little's handcuffs. Authorities said that when Hendrick tried to put the handcuff back on Little kicked him in the groin. Corrections officer said Wheeler jumped on Little and restrained him while Hendrick replaced the handcuffs. No, good for him. Hendrick was not seriously injured. Little was arrested last week and charged with rape and attempted murder of a tigered woman. He is on parole from a life sentence for killing a 16-year-old Springfield girl in 1966. State police also have said that Little is the prime suspect in the gunshot deaths of a White City family, and that is the Cowden family. Yeah, I almost have no doubt that he did it. No, I mean, it's just way too coincidental. Secondly, so I guess this is part of another article I was reading. So it said he would recommend a change in parole. This is about parole board stuff. He would recommend, this is 1980, June 20th, so 8 days after that incident at the rest stop. He would change in parole board regulations to permit consideration of a felon's status as a suspect in a crime as well as actual convictions as a deterrent to release. He cited the case of Dwayne Lee Little, who recently was accused of raping and attempting to kill a young Tigard woman. Little had been paroled from a life sentence for murdering a 16-year-old girl, although he was the prime suspect in the 1974 slaying of a family of 4 near Medford. Frohnmeyer said he would also work to toughen Oregon's laws on the insanity defense in criminal cases. Well, a little too late there on that one. Then 5 months later, in 1980, this really... I want to see what this was all about. Convict's tale takes strange twist. Man, this story turned out to be pretty crazy. So thank you, Zozo, for suggesting just to take a look at it, and it just turned into all this wild stuff. Thanks, Vid Inquiries, for the attempt. But apparently that one sounded like this right here. Listen. Thank you. Convict's tale takes strange new twist. The bizarre story of convicted murderer Floyd Forsberg took a new turn during the weekend when he said his effort to confess to another man's crime was a hoax. Then he tried to implicate another convict in 4 murders. Forsberg, 38, serving a life term at the Oregon State Penitentiary for the murder of a California woman near Bend in 1975 after escaping from a Nevada jail where he was awaiting trial for the $1 million robbery of Reno Bank. By the way, yes, everybody, hit that like button really quick for me. Doesn't take any effort.
I'm fired out of it, not 10, down 15, on I'm better than bird on 15, I'm better than bird on 15, 20, I'm better than bird on 15, better than bird on 20, I'm fired out of bird on 30, 30, 30, 25, better than bird on 30, going to 30, sir, 25 of them, you're out, I'm better than bird on 25, better than bird on 30, 30, now 5, I'm 35.
Okay, we're at 191. We should be able to get to 200 for sure. I got 1 like with that auctioneer sound. Okay, let's do it again.
I'm fired out of it, not 10, down 15, on I'm better than bird on 15, I'm better than bird on 15, 20, I'm better than bird on 15, better than bird on 20, now 5, better than bird on 30, and 30, and 30, 25, better than bird on 30, going to 30, sir, 25 of them, you're out, I'm better than bird on 25, better than bird on 30, 30, now 5, I'm 30.
Nope, we still got to keep going. It's at 198, you guys.
I'm fired out of it, not 10, down 15, on I'm better than bird on 15.
There we go. I just saw it hit 200. Okay. Yep. Let's see. So Forsberg, 38, is serving a life term in Oregon State Penitentiary for the murder of a California woman near Bend in 1975 after escaping from a Nevada jail where he was awaiting trial for the $1 million robbery of a Reno bank. Since that time, his life in prison has been a strange tale of killers' bodies and jailhouse intrigue. His efforts to convince people of his reliability have included the successful locating of a girl's body from a previously unsolved murder and the unsuccessful attempt to implicate yet another convict in another slaying. On Saturday night, Forsberg told a selected group of reporters that his attempted confession to the 1974 murder of Portland businessman James Terrell was a lie. Roderick Addix was convicted of the crime and is serving life sentence. He also told John Doyle of Eugene television station KVOL to a washroom broke into the wall and produced a hammer, nails, and some homemade knives that he said were part of a scheme to nail heavy benches from the washroom together to make a ladder. He said the objects were lowered into the wall with typewriter ribbon. Oh, interesting. Forsberg said that Dwayne L. Little, now an Oregon correctional institution, murdered the 4 members of the Richard Cowden family of White City, Oregon. Cowden, 29, his wife Belinda, 22, and the children. disappeared Labor Day weekend 1974 near the Oregon-California border. The bodies were discovered in a cave. Forsberg said the escape plot was hatched in 1977 and was to have included Little. Little was an inmate, and he tried to escape other times. Little was an inmate at the prison until 1977, when he was paroled in his sentence for killing a 16-year-old Springfield girl in 1966. Well, he was actually paroled prior to that, but then put back in 75. He was paroled in July of 1974, and then he was put back in May of 1975 after he became a suspect in the Cowden case, and police said that he had a weapons charge and tried to make a deal with them that he could do a lie detector test in exchange for them dropping the made-up gun charge, it sounds like, or a very flimsy gun charge. And he decided to go back to prison for 2 years, so he went back in till 1977 when he was paroled on a sentence for killing a 16-year-old Springfield girl in 1966. He was arrested in June and charged with rape and attempted murder of a Tigard woman. While being transported from the Washington County Jail to Salem, Little attempted unsuccessfully to escape when deputies allowed him to stop at a rest area. In August 1979, Forsberg led authorities to the headless remains of 5-year-old Andrea Tolentino, who disappeared from her mother's car while it was parked outside. I wonder, like in prison, he probably gets information from people. Forsberg said Richard Godwin of Springfield, another inmate, had provided a map to the body and admitted to the killing of the girl. Forsberg later produced a handwritten confession by Godwin to killing Kay Turner, 35, of Eugene, who disappeared December 24, 1978, while jogging near Camp Sherman. And Camp Sherman's near the Metolius River. It's a fly fishing haven up there. Her jawbone was found the same day the Tolino girl's remains were located. Godwin confessed to the... So, I mean, he obviously can get good information. So you kind of wonder if, this Little maybe told him some stuff to kind of, build up his credibility, and he was going to help, escape from prison. Crazy, right? Parolee draws 3 consecutive 20-year terms. Dwayne Little, 32, formerly of Tiger. This is 1980 in November, so 5 months after he was arrested. Again, Dwayne Little, 32, formerly of Tiger, was sentenced to 3 consecutive 20-year prison terms Thursday after he was found guilty on first-degree charges of rape, kidnapping, and attempted murder. Little earlier waived a jury trial and stipulated to evidence presented by the state about his June 2 second crimes. On that day, Ann Hendrick, 23, was walking along Oregon 99 West in Tigard, seeking help for her stalled car when Little offered her a ride. Since Miss Hendrick recognized Little as a fellow employee at Metalcraft Industries in Wilsonville, interesting, she accepted, according to Washington County so he had to kill her in this case, because she recognized him. Little then drove to the vicinity of the Interstate 5, Interstate 205 interchange south of Tualatin, raped her, stabbed her, and left her for dead, according to evidence presented in court. I thought she jumped out and rolled down the hill. Miss Hendricks managed to crawl to the highway, where she was aided by a passing motorist. Little earlier was found guilty and received the life sentence for killing a 16-year-old Springfield girl in 1966. He was on parole at the time Miss Hendricks was attacked. Right. So Miss Hendricks' attack was, I believe, it was 1980, so he's on parole for that. But, isn't it crazy? All the stuff, look at murders. In 1966, he murders a 16-year-old, or 64, murders a 16-year-old. And then in 1980, which is only 16 years later, he potentially murdered an entire family, and he's out trying to kill this girl, this 23-year-old. And man, 16 years in prison is all he got for all of that prior to this. Unbelievable. Let's see. Little then drove to the vicinity of the Interstate 5, Interstate 205 interchange south of Tualatin, raped her, stabbed her, and left her for dead. Little earlier was found guilty of killing a 16-year-old. He was found guilty in 1966, but it happened in 64. Miss Hendricks still wears a leg brace and will require additional surgery in an effort to regain the full use of one hand. He must have stabbed her a few times. If Ashmanskas had not required the 3 sentences to run consecutively, Little could have been eligible for parole again in 60 to 80 months. God. The power to parole Little in the future rests with the 5-member state parole board. If 4 of its 5 members... I gotta look this guy up, man. Jeez. We were gonna do that a few minutes ago. Been verified. Okay. Dwayne. Hold on a second. Dwayne. What is that one? Dwayne. What was his middle name? Ah, shit. Anybody remember his middle name? Little? Let me get the Portland. I didn't put the where he's from. Yeah, Lee. Okay. There it is. Dwayne. Huh. The other guy was Dwayne L. He's going to be like 70. I'll just put Oregon. And he'd be what? Yeah, he'd probably be like 71 or something ish. I think. This one says 94. That doesn't sound right. So let's see. If he was 16 in 1964, well, then he's probably, he's another. You add 16 to me, basically. So he'd be like 73-ish, something like that. If you add another year just for the. Yeah, so he might not even be in there. Yeah, I don't think he's, yeah, no, he's not in there. Well, he's 32 in 1980, but I'd like to know what happened to him. Let me try that. Find a grave, Dwayne Lee Little, Oregon. Wow. That's interesting because when I typed that in, it has Orla Faye Phipps. So that's her right there. That's the girl that he killed. While riding her horse to her home in Cedar Flats area after school, 16-year-old Orla Faye Phipps was assaulted by 16-year-old Dwayne Lee Little. She was his first murder victim. Man, he's probably a serial killer, I would imagine. There you go. Some people think he might be a serial killer. Yeah, I think he probably has a good chance of being one. I don't know if he ever got paroled again, or maybe he just died in prison. I mean, he was pretty young, that's the thing, is Even if he was in there for 30 years, he'd be 62 at the time. And he was kind of young. Yeah, we know. We got it, Zozo. We got it. Parole's rape victim sues state. And I totally agree with this one right here. A woman who was raped and stabbed by a paroled murderer has sued the state more than $1 million, claiming the Oregon Parole Board was negligent. Ann Hendricks, that's the victim, filed the suit Wednesday in Multnomah County Circuit Court, seeking $1 million in general damages, as well as $16,693 for lost wages and $14,000 for medical expenses. Dwayne Little, 32, was convicted of rape and assault in the June 2, 1980 attack on Hendricks, who was left for dead. He had been sentenced to life imprisonment for a 1964 rape and murder of 16-year-old Springfield girl, but was paroled in 1974. 10 months later, he was convicted of being an ex-convict in possession of a firearm. He had been paroled since April 26, 1977, when the attack on Hendricks occurred. So who did he kill in those other 3 years? This guy doesn't seem to be able to wait so long. I bet you there's unsolved murders in the area between 1978. It's interesting, because I never even thought of that. But what was that one case that we did in Portland a while back? What the hell was the name of that one? Man. Wasn't it right around that time? Remember the girl that was at the Denny's? You guys remember that one? Oh yeah, it's this one, right? Now that was Sharon Ryan. How about that one? Here, I'll just type in Denny's. That'll get the one. Yeah, Cindy Lynn Powers. So that was 1982, so that can't be him. Because remember, that was the one, she was just taking a bus, walking to the... she went to a mall and then was going to go to Denny's to work. And just on that little tiny walk to Denny's from the mall, she was murdered. Abducted and murdered and put behind what is now a Lowe's furniture. Which is... not sure if that's where it is. Yeah, right here. I think that's the Lowe's. I can't remember, actually. There, oh, actually, it's right here. Boom. Not even in that same spot. So it's over here. 82nd. Bus stop, uncle's house. Anyways, so Dwayne Little, 32, was convicted of rape and assault on June 2nd, 1980. So I bet you between 77 and 80, there's unsolved murders that he is responsible for. Because who knows what he would have done with this girl, Ann Hendricks, right here. He might have killed her and disposed of her body in a place that wouldn't be found, like maybe some other victims he had during that time frame. Alright, so this was 1981. That's right, I'm still on Dwayne. Okay, then in 1984, court rejects challenge. So the Oregon Court of Appeals, Wednesday, rejected constitutional challenge to a state law imposing mandatory minimum sentences for aggravated murder. In another ruling, the court said a woman who was kidnapped and raped by a convicted murderer on parole can't collect damages from the state. Why not? Jeez. The minimum sentence law was challenged by Melvin R. Norris. Anyways, so it turns out where she can't get the damages. I think she should have got every nickel of it. Million plus. Her life was, potentially ruined. Raped, stabbed, Yeah, we know, Mikey. We covered it at the beginning of the show. Try rewinding every once in a while. Father of Oregon killer arrested. A man jailed for walking away from a mental hospital 27 years ago believes he's being harassed because... Now see, this is the father of this guy. So a man jailed for walking away from a mental hospital 27 years ago believes he's being harassed because he's the father of a convicted murderer, according to the Register Guard newspaper. This is 1988 right here. Bruce Dwayne Little, 61. All right, let's that's a good way to look him up. Hold on. So now I'm going to try that again. Been verified. Here we go. Bruce D. Little of, and this is Eugene, Oregon. And he should be in there. Yep, it says 94. Now, wouldn't that be weird if he's still alive? And then maybe his kid's in there. And we can click on that. Yeah, it says he's still alive. You gotta be kidding me. Jesus. My God. Bruce, the father of this barbarian, is still alive out there. And relatives, Joan, Ray. Yeah, those relatives, well, it was only one relative. And that's probably his wife, maybe, I guess. Or a sister. Yeah, maybe a sister. So let me try that person. Man, can you believe that he's still alive? 94 years old. Or 92 years old, I think. Yeah, no, he's 94. Yeah, he lives in Salem now. Interesting. And this article is from 1988. So, Bruce Dwayne Little, 61, was arrested Monday in Los Angeles as he prepared to ship out on a supertanker, authorities said. He was charged in a fugitive warrant issued that day with failing to comply with a judge's 1961 order committing him. Wow, so, man, this guy's in a mental institution and his son's a psychopath. Little remained in Los Angeles County Jail. Why was he put in there? Now I want to look him up. Hold on. His name is Bruce Dwayne Little. Newspapers.com. He's got to be in there. Bruce Dwayne Little. And I'm not even gonna... There can't be more than... That's just the only one that exists, I would imagine. Oh, well, why is he in... Man, he made it to an AP article? 1988? So it's the same deal, right? Father of killer arrested. So how about... Let's just do 1920 to 1961. And then get rid of all the other crap that's out there. Well, that's Olympia, Washington. And right here it says, June 22nd, a jury of 9 men and 3 women found Bruce Dwayne Little innocent by reason of insanity. Oh, wow. Let's see what... Oh, my God. I was wondering if he was a killer. Holy shit. I was actually wondering if he was deemed insane and he was a murderer. Holy crap. I got to save this one now. That's insane. I knew it. In my mind, I was thinking, I bet you he was in prison on reason of insanity for 20-something years. Oh my God, this is insane right here. We'll read that here in a second. 1961. Can you believe that? 1960. Shit. There it is. 1961. 06. 22. So right here. God, that's so crazy. I knew it, man. I didn't say it out loud, but I really was thinking that in my head. I go, that's why I wanted to look him up, to see why he was in there. So anyways, June 22nd, it just proves that's exactly why that DNA from killers that are put into CODIS should also be put into GEDmatch because of this right here. June 22nd, a jury of 9 men and 3 women found Bruce Dwayne Little innocent by reason of insanity on mental irresponsibility in the, listen to this, the shotgun death of his younger brother Lee. Shotgun. We got a shotgun now. The jury returned its verdict Wednesday night after hearing nearly 8 days of testimony and deliberating for about 3.5 hours. The younger Little was slain March 20th at his home in Little Rock, south of here. So this is, but this says, this article, it says Olympia, Washington. He was a former resident of Petersburg, Alaska. Survivors include a wife and 4 children. Bruce Little, 33, a one-time logger. Isn't that ironic? Because Richard Cowden Richard Cowden was a log truck driver. Was charged with first-degree murder. The jury ruled that he is not safe to be at large. A hearing will be held on his commitment. Wow, and now he's just out and about. And that's just absolutely nuts. 1962 to 64. Now there he is again in 63. This is right before the murder of I can't remember. Hold on a second. One little trial. Right before the murder of Orla Faye Phipps. Medical Lake escapee is in custody. A logger who escaped from a mental hospital. Look at that. Just like his kid, man. At Medical Lake, Washington, May 19th was arrested in Memphis after police said he threatened relatives with whom he was living. Bruce Dwayne Little, 35, was arrested Friday night at the relative's home where he was living with his 14-year-old son. Holy shit. He's there with Dwayne Lee Little at this moment right here when he escaped. Can you guys believe this shit? This is like this is something that if you put in a book almost, you'd be like, yeah, I don't know. That's too much. Look at this right here. So in 1963, that's how old his son was, because he was 15 in 64 when he killed Phipps. So look at this right here. A jogger who escaped from a mental hospital at Medical Lake, Washington, May 19th, was arrested in Memphis after police said he threatened relatives with whom he was living. Bruce Dwayne, yeah, it would be kind of an interesting. Bruce Dwayne Little, 35, was arrested Friday night at his relative's home where he was living with his 14-year-old son, which would be Dwayne Lee Little, an eventual likely serial killer. Little had been sought since he walked away from his Eastern State Hospital, where he was committed 2 years ago for the slaying of his brother, Lee Little. Isn't that weird? Because then it's Dwayne Lee Little, and his name is Bruce Dwayne Little. So he took the middle name Dwayne and gave his brother's name Lee as his middle name. Police said, but that was before he killed him. Police said Little gave up without a struggle. Oh, man. This is... All right, 63. That was 8th. And this is October. So what's going on in October now? He's back in the paper again. Grants escapee sanctuary. Wow. Governor Frank Clement yesterday recalled a warrant and granted sanctuary in Tennessee to a Washington state logger who strolled away from a criminally insane ward where he was committed after shooting his brother to death. Executive Assistant Attorney General Robert K. Dwyer said Bruce Dwayne Little... Okay, this is just getting ridiculous now. So now Tennessee said, yeah, no, he's okay. We won't extradite him here. Executive Assistant Attorney General Robert K. Dwyer said Bruce Dwayne Little, 35, was released from Shelby County Jail, where he had been confined since June 7th. Little escaped from Eastern State Hospital Medical, Lake Washington, near Spokane, on the afternoon of May 19th, after telling officials he was going on a fishing trip. He had been in minimum security. A Washington jury found Little not guilty in the shooting, but declared him dangerous and committed him to the hospital. Wow, so what was the deal in that 1990? All right, let me make I'm going to do 1964 to like 2000 here. So there's the July 1988. And this is the story we were just reading, right? About father of killer arrested. He was detained a month... Okay, let's see how this went down then. Bruce Dwayne Little, 61, was arrested Monday in Los Angeles. He was prepared to ship out on a supertanker, authorities said. He was charged in a fugitive warrant issued that day with failing to comply with the judge's 1961 order. Right, so Tennessee gave him a sanctuary. So this is just like this YouTuber here. Or he's just out on the road, and then he finally gets out there, and then, boom, he's taken in by authorities bringing him back. He was detained a month after his escape by authorities in Memphis, Tennessee, but an apparent extradition attempt, there you go, by Washington officials was unsuccessful. Right, because they didn't want to extradite him for some unknown reason. Little was in Los Angeles County Jail in lieu of $100,000 bail, with bail reduced, hearing scheduled for Tuesday. And this is 1988. His wife, Margaret Little, I wonder if he saw his son during any of this time. Because he was out. He was gone for decades almost. Dwayne Lee Little is serving prison term totaling life. Yeah, that's his son right there. So Dwayne Lee Little is serving, who's 39, is serving prison term totaling life plus 40 years for the 1964 stabbing death. The elder Little was committed for killing his half-brother. Mrs. Little said her husband intends to fight extradition. We've lived here in Oregon 25 years and never had a problem with nothing or nobody. We're just flabbergasted, she said. I just don't understand why... Who's saying it? Mrs. Little? They don't say her name. We're just flabbergasted, she said. I just don't understand why they'd take a good man like my husband. Yeah, he sounds like a real peach. And lock him up and take up jail space. Mrs. Little acknowledged that her husband walked away from the Eastern Washington State Hospital at Medical Lake near Spokane in May of 1963, but she said a lawyer advised him there would be no legal ramifications to escape and that he was given a plane ticket and spending money by a doctor who assisted him. Jesus. Mrs. Little said her husband was acting in self-defense when he killed his half-brother with a shotgun in March of 1961 near Olympia, Washington. Two of his half-brothers were plotting against Bruce Little and previously had attempted to kill him by felling a tree on him. Hey, thanks, Christine Falk. I know you guys are the ones that send it in, but I feel like I work hard for you guys every night, basically. I mean, some nights I do a call in or something, but I work really hard, so I do feel like I earn the super chats and everything that you guys generously send in, but I also pay back, a lot of the income from the generosity that you guys have, so that we can actually do the stuff that we're doing. Yeah, giving back somebody a name is probably the best thing that we can do. Mrs. Little said her husband was acting in self-defense. What was this last part? 2 of his half-brothers were plotting against Bruce Little and previously had attempted to kill him by felling a tree on him. When one of the 2 approached him with a sawed-off shotgun, his wife said. Yeah, I don't know. It must be a little bit more to it than that. A little bit more to it than that. Man, this is unreal, you guys. You gotta admit, like, this is... Jesus. Okay, that was under him. Now if I go back out to here, and then we've got one article in 1990 here. Thanks, Christine said, just wanted to thank you for being a truly good person and donating your hard-earned money to multiple charities and giving back names. Yep. I donate over 50% of the net income. So, yes. Yeah, that one. Isn't this one crazy, Dan? I mean, you gotta admit, like, this one is just... Wow. You start off at the Cowden family, and then you end up with this bizarre tale of a crazy killer. 16 years ago, Richard Cowden and his Cowden and his 5-year-old son, David, drove about a half mile from their campsite in southern Oregon's Applegate Valley to buy a quart of milk at the Copper General Store. That day before Labor Day, September 2nd, 1974, was the last day Cowden 28 and his son were seen alive. It was the next April before their bodies were found, along with those of 22-year-old Belinda Cowden and the couple's 5-month-old daughter, Melissa. The case remains one of Oregon's most haunting and baffling mysteries. The family campsite on Carberry Creek was found essentially undisturbed, with Richard Cowden's wallet and Belinda Cowden's purse in plain sight. Today, the killing of White City family in the valley 25 miles southwest of Medford serve as a chilling lesson for some residents. We don't go anywhere without our loaded weapons, our pistols. She was born in Applegate Valley and has carried the mail since 1976. I just don't trust nobody. You just keep your eyes open, she said. The chief suspect in the killings was Dwayne Lee Little, now a 41-year-old convict serving a life sentence in an Oregon prison for other crimes. Little declined to discuss the case, but others talked about it with the Register Guard of Eugene. Retired Oregon State Police Lieutenant Mark Kezer, who headed the investigation, said any new lead would prompt authorities to reopen the investigation. I'd go back to work myself on that baby, he said. The bodies of Belinda Cowden and her children were found at a tiny cave. Richard Cowden was found nearby, tied to a tree. Wow, we didn't know that part. So Richard Cowden was found nearby, tied to a tree. So he was tied to a tree, and then he went down, killed the kids, and then probably assaulted her. I would bet money on that right there. Police believe Richard Cowden died where he was found. However, the women and children may have been killed elsewhere and then left in the cave. Right, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It was a week before police learned that Little, already a convicted teenage killer and once the youngest inmate at the Oregon State Penitentiary, had been paroled and was living with his parents at Reck. Let's see where that is. Oh, yeah. It's going to be right there. Watch this. Here we go. We get to see where he lived. And there it is. Look how close he was to that area. Probably 15 miles away. On the road, even. So this is where... so Little's parents lived here. Oh wait, that's where his dad lived. Man, what if him and his dad were out together that day? Or was his dad... No, his dad was already in the... no, he escaped before this. So his dad had already escaped, but he was in Tennessee. Man, this one's interesting. It'd be cool to put together a timeline in it. It was a week, so man, just a week after this, before police learned that Little, already convict teenage killer, and once the youngest inmate at the Oregon State Penitentiary, had been paroled and was living with his parents at Reck, about 18 miles away. Little immediately became the prime suspect, but Kezar said the investigation might have gone differently if he'd been tabbed from the start. If we'd have known he was in the area, we'd have been watching him. Little and his parents, Bruce and Margaret Little, right? That was his name, Bruce, right? Man, there's so many. Hold on a second. Yeah, Bruce Dwayne Little. Yeah, there you go. Man, so wait a minute. So we were just about to hear this part again here. So where was it? Little and his parents, Bruce and Margaret Little, were seen in the air. Oh my God, are you kidding me? So Bruce was there at that time. He had snuck back to Oregon after going to Tennessee. He left and came back to Oregon and went to a small little area to live in that little town of Reck, and Dwayne Little was staying with his killer dad. Were seen in the area the evening of the killing and again the next morning. So what if the dad and the son were together on this one? The Littles' home was searched and their pickup truck was impounded. Wow. Our lab people went over that. Well, how come they didn't arrest him again though at that time? Didn't they know that he was supposed to be in the mental institution up in Washington? Because that was 61, right? How come they didn't know to... forget it. It's too many questions. Our lab people went over that thing with a fine-tooth comb. They said it had been meticulously cleaned. Most pickups have some signs of occupancy. Not this baby. It had been cleaned. Wow. Tests showed bullets used in the killings have come from a rifle purchased by Margaret Little in July 1974. Tests showed bullets used in the killings could have come from a rifle purchased by Margaret Little in July 1974, which is... why is that date significant? Isn't that when he was arrested? Wait, July... So that's right, that's when he was let out of prison, wasn't it? Wasn't that when he was let out? July of 1974 was when he got out on parole, and then he was put back in May of 70. Yeah, that's it. She bought this for... Oh my God, man. Margaret Little bought in July of 74, right when he got out on parole. Now he has access to a gun. But police never found the gun. Oh my God. Jeez. If you had him on trial, he'd lose. This case is nuts, you guys. Oh my God, this is... Oh wow. Little went back to prison for parole. Okay, tests showed bullets used in the killing could have come from a rifle purchased by Margaret Little in July, right when her son got out on parole, but police never found the gun. They were seen in the area of the Cowden family. Little went back to prison for parole violations. He was paroled in 1977. And let's see. Yeah, so that's right. He went back to prison in May of 1975, and then he was paroled from prison for good in 1977 until he committed another crime in 1980 of kidnapping, raped, and tried to kill a Tiger woman, and was sent back to prison for life. His file contains a recommendation that he never be paroled. His parents live in Lebanon. Richard Cowden was one of 3 brothers. The oldest died before Richard of cancer at the age of 25. The surviving brother, Wes Cowden, said their father's suicide 5 months... Oh, so he's dead. He's not alive. They didn't say he was dead, though, and been verified. The eldest died before Richard of cancer. So Richard Cowden... Oh, wait, that's Richard. Never mind. Richard Cowden was one of 3 brothers. The eldest died before Richard of cancer at age 25. The surviving brother, Wes Cowden, said their father suicide 5 months after the bodies were found. Wow. Must have been related to the killings, although it ostensibly followed domestic problems with his wife. God, see? Wow. Man, I'm glad we went over this one. See, this is where I feel like this is like my best type of stuff, man. All these little pieces flowing around, coming together. I almost want to put it all together and just make a video on it. This is just absolutely... I'm flabbergasted. I can't even talk. It's crazy. I wonder if this is in here. The Cowden family massacre in Oregon. This is December 2020. Richard Cowden, his wife Belinda, their children 5. Let me see. The Cowden camping trip. The Cowden family lived in White City, Oregon, and Richard worked as a logging truck driver. They traveled to the campsite in their 1956 Ford pickup truck. The Cowden family loved to camp, but they had not planned to go camping that Labor Day weekend in 1974. Richard had planned to haul a load of gravel for his driveway and spend the weekend getting the job done. Unexpectedly, the truck broke down, so instead they decided to go up to Siskiyou Mountains for a family trip away. The Siskiyou Mountains are a coastal subrange. Okay. The circumstances around the Cowden disappearance. On Sunday, September 1st, 1974, Richard and David went to the Copper General Store on foot and around 9 a.m. to buy some milk. They then left the store and headed back to their campsite. This was the last sighting of the Cowden family. That evening, Belinda's mother, who lived less than 1 mile from the campground, was expecting the family to come over for dinner. On their way home, they failed to show up, and she went over to the campsite to see if there was a problem. When she arrived, there was no sign of the Cowden family, and the truck was parked up with the keys on a picnic table. A plastic dishpan full of cold water lay on the ground, and Belinda's purse was in plain sight on a table. A diaper bag and a camp stove were set up, and half-finished carton of milk also present, which matched that bought at the store earlier in the day. Strangely and alarmingly, Richard's expensive wristwatch and wallet were on the ground. There was also an open pack of cigarettes, which were the brand that Belinda smoked. The truck appeared untouched and contained their clothing, which with only the bathing suits missing. After waiting for about an hour, Belinda's mother left the campground to notify authorities, after which the sheriff trooper and the District 3 office of the Oregon State Police arrived at the scene. Lieutenant Mark Kezer, who headed the case, would later state that the investigation had been delayed for maybe a day because of the lack of indication that anything violent may have occurred at the campsite. A state trooper, Officer Erickson, recalled, "The camp was spooky. Even the milk was still on the table." The following morning, on September 2nd, the Cowden's pet basset hound, Droopy, was found scratching at the front door of the Copper General Store, but there was no sign of Droopy's owners. The search for the Cowden family was one of the largest in Oregon history and included state and local police, Explorer Scouts, the United States Forest Service, and the Oregon National Guard, as well as hundreds of volunteers. The U.S. Forest Service searched 25 miles of roads and trails. So the family had little debt. This is the searching part. So this is actually a picture of them at a campsite. I think that's the husband, a baby in there, the 5-year-old, and then her right there. Then 7 months after the family vanished on April 12, 1975, 1 month prior to Dwayne Little being mentioned, or he was actually put back in prison a month after this. Two gold prospectors were hiking through the woods near Carberry Creek. So maybe it is right next to the campground, when they discovered the decomposing body of an adult male tied to a tree on a steep hillside around 7 miles. Okay, so no. But their campground was also on Carberry Creek. So let me check that out. So when they say northwest, I guess that could be up here, and that's the road they would have taken. So let's do this a little bit better here. So from here, I think that's a road, right? Yeah, because remember we drove on that. So if we get that and we start going on that, ding, 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 ding. 0.49, ding. And how far did they say that was? That's not. 7 miles. So right now we're at 1.74, and that makes sense because in a minute here is where we get up into the area where it starts heading into the northwest. I'm not going to make this perfect, but it'll be close. Alright, we're at 3.8. And that makes sense because then he would have just driven them on the road. And so 6.5, 8.2, so maybe somewhere around in that area. So somewhere up here, and look how steep some of that is right there. And that makes sense because now that is northwest. And we'll get that about 7 miles there. Alright, so 7 miles from the location, in a small cave nearby, the bodies of an adult female, a child, and infant were discovered. The entrance of the cave was sealed with rocks to disguise it and hide the bodies from view. Sounds like something right out of Dexter. Autopsy revealed, so in this case it says a .22 caliber, was a shotgun, had died as a result of 22 caliber shotgun wounds, and baby Melissa had died from severe head trauma. Medical authorities were unable to determine the cause of Richard Cowden's death. Thinking of the possibility that Richard could have murdered his own family, detectives searched the area for a gun or other weapon. If Richard was indeed responsible for the death of his family and his own suicide, well, how did he tie himself to a tree, by the way? No gun or weapon was ever found. Lieutenant Mark Kaiser said afterward that the whole nature of the thing smacks of a weirdo, adding that the police know a lot they didn't feel free to discuss at that point. The authorities believe that Richard and David returned to the camp after their trip to the store, yep, obviously, because the milk's there, and the family went swimming in an adjacent Carberry Creek. That's what I was suggesting earlier. Later that morning, a short time later, probably before noon, the family was abducted at gunpoint and most likely by someone they did not know. Kezar hypothesized that they were probably driven some distance away. Doesn't that feel like there's got to be more than one person in that car with 4 people? One family from Los Angeles, California had arrived at the campground at 5 p.m. on September 1st, and whilst walking in the park that evening, they witnessed 2 men and a woman parking nearby in a pickup truck. They said they acted like they were waiting for us to leave, and frankly, they made us nervous, so we moved on. Oh boy, here we go. Based on the location of Belinda and the children's bodies inside the cave, Lieutenant Kezar suspected that the person responsible was a local resident who knew the area and was aware. Well, guess where the parents live? After the family remains were, and guess where he lived? So when he got out of prison, he had 2 months to get to know the area really well, living with his parents. Remember when he was paroled, little? Man, everything makes sense here to me. Linda and the children's bodies were found in September 1974. Okay, so they said that the person responsible was a local resident who knew the area and was aware of the cave's location. After the family's remains were recovered, a resident of Grant's Pass who had volunteered in the search told police that he had searched the cave where Belinda and the children's bodies were found in September of 1974. Wow. And that they were not there at the time. To confirm the story, the police had the man take them to the cave he had searched. It was the same cave where the bodies had been discovered. Wow, so they were put there later. In August 2020, former Oregon State Police Detective Richard Davis was interviewed to talk about the involvement with the Cowden case. Multiple agencies, including OSP, the Jackson County. You know what's interesting about this? They didn't even mention Little up here when they talked about, right here, the Cowden family lived in White as a, okay, not that part, this one right here. 5 p.m. on Saturday, walking in the park that evening, they witnessed 2 men and a woman. That's the Little family and the mother, right? They said they acted like they were waiting for us to leave, and frankly, they made us nervous. That's crazy. Yeah, well, everybody wonders that, Zozo. Yeah. Multiple agencies, including OSP, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, and Central Point Police, searched for months on end, chasing their tails, as Davis calls it. He had 2 recruits come in, and you go on the Applegate and look for buzzards, because buzzards will lead us to the body. This was in January. Buzzards are migratory birds. There hadn't been one of the Rogue Valley, Applegate Valley, since early November. He said a few early suspects were quickly eliminated with no new leads. The case went cold for months, and officers began to lose hope. We got some of the strangest, most bizarre calls, tips, where probably the crazy. It wasn't until 7 months later when Davis took over the case. As well, but the thing is wondering and trying to figure out Zozo is meaningless, because we're not going to be able to figure it out. So I quit wondering right after I wonder. I go like this. Wow, I wonder where, yeah, okay, who cares? We're not going to get to know. It wasn't until 7 months later when Davis took over the case as lead detective, and that he says 2 campers from Washington made a gruesome discovery. They started up a little game trail from the level camp spot up the hill, and there was a skull, said Davis. Right then, I mobilized everyone I can imagine. I need help. I'm one man. I can't search the forest. I need help, he said. Davis says Richard Cowden's skull found roughly 7 miles from the campsite. He had been, well, to be honest with you, when I do this, I don't know where the campsite was, so it could be further up here, you know. I just picked a place on Carnberry Street, but they said it was about a mile from the store. So let's just say that you think of this bigger area here as being where the town was, maybe. And so it was a mile from there. So it's probably near the entrance here. Yeah. So David says Richard Cowden's skull was found about 7 miles from the campsite. About 100 feet away, under a rock on the hillside, was Richard's wife's son and baby. The boy had been shot by the .22 rifle. I don't remember how Belinda was killed. The baby had its head bashed in blunt force trauma. I mean, what kind of a monster kills a 5-month-old kid? During the actual search and recovery for bones and stuff, the men became kind of giddy. But once we got back into the vehicle, it became very somber. Reality set in. My God, what have I been doing? How could I have been giddy up there on the hillside when his family's been murdered brutally? All that was left, David says, was a single bullet belonging to a Marlin manufactured rifle. We're looking for anybody that had purchased that weapon, that could have fired that shot. A weapon that could have fired that shot, David said. Well, you know who bought that, right? So here we go. Dwayne Lee Little. That's Dwayne Lee Little right there. There's a picture of him. Dwayne Lee Little has been implicated but never charged with the murders. He had been paroled from the Oregon State Penitentiary in Salem on May 24th, 1974. So that was May, not July. Same, but the gun was purchased in July. 3 months prior to the Cowdens' disappearance on November... No, so they screwed up right here. This should have been July. See, because right here they're saying 3 months prior to November is July, August, September. Well, let's see, 7. Yeah, that's closer. May isn't anywhere near 3 months, right? So it should have been July, and then May 1975 is what they're confusing that with. You know what I'm saying? 3 months prior to the Cowdens' disappearances. On November 2nd, 1964, he had raped and murdered teenager Orla Faye Phipps, then age 15. State police were able to determine that Little had been in Copper over the Labor Day weekend at the approximate time the Cowden family was killed. Little's girlfriend told law enforcement that she had seen him, with a .22 caliber gun during Christmas, so about a month after the murder, and on January 12th, 1975. His parole was revoked. I thought it was May. Anyways, I'll have to go back and look at these. His parole was revoked after she informed the police. So she told police, I saw him with a gun. So, wow, that's weird. Now, Little was paroled again on April 26, 1977. And on June 2nd, 1980, he picked up a pregnant, she was pregnant, 23-year-old named Marjorie Hunter, whose car had broken down near Portland, Oregon. He sexually assaulted and beat her, but she survived. What about the baby? And Little was charged and convicted of attempted homicide and sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. Police believe that the 2 men and women in the truck, reported by the Los Angeles family at the campground were in fact Little and his parents. There we go. As their truck matched the description provided by the family. Little and his parents denied any knowledge of the Cowdens' disappearance. However, a miner who owned a cabin nearby claimed that Little and his parents had stopped by on Monday, September 2nd, 1974, and signed a guest book he kept for visitors. Floyd Forsberg, an inmate who at one time shared a cell with Little, would later claim that Little confessed to the Cowdens' murder. Richard Cowden's father committed suicide a few months after the bodies were discovered, but he was cleared of any involvement. Well, why would he have anything to do with that? That's ridiculous. Over 4 decades on, the facts behind the Cowdens' murder remains unknown. Foul play for certain, but was it Dwayne Little or someone else? No, it's Dwayne Little. Man, I'm 100% convinced. Especially when you have his dad, who's a murderer, put into an insane asylum, and then he gets out of that, and now his kid's living with his dad after he escaped from the insane asylum. Man, that just all makes sense. But anyways, you guys, that's going to be it for me tonight. I went a little bit longer again. Thank you guys for being here. And thank you to Billy Juliana, Living It, Angela Van Earp, Tawny Lee, Eugenie, Patty Barnett, Your Gypsy, Cindy Lynn, Kathy Friedenmaker, Jessica Schubach, Jenny Lacerter, Rhea Mazarone, Carolina T, Billy Juliana, the Mayor, Candalee Woodward Stone, and Quietly Frozen. Thank you. Without that one, we would have been woefully short. Lori Fisher, Charisma, Lanky Tor, No Place Like Home, Living It, Betty Yeti, Amber Maiden, Dan Carr, for a bag of Honeycrisp, Mary Glaviano, Mountain Jam 71, JD, Delva Johnson, Billy Juliana, Jenny Jennifer, Patty Barnett, Billy Juliana, Amber Maiden, Living It, Tina Susser, Linda Howell, Lola's Mom, Lisa Wilkerson, Vid Inquiries, and Christine Falk. And thanks for sending me that story. It was pretty crazy going through all the article. That was to Zozo there. She goes, hey, great, check this one out. It was just a link, you know. So I just went back and found like a jillion. I couldn't believe how many articles there were in the Oregonian and newspapers.com from back then. So yeah, this one's crazy. I actually think it's virtually certain that Little, and perhaps even with his father, had something to do with that. I really do. I think it's just, I mean, if I was on a jury, it might be a hung jury, but it'd be really close, you know. You'd be at a point where some people would actually find them guilty. There's no doubt about it. But anyways, I hope you guys found that interesting. I sure as hell did. And I might actually try to put it back together again. Maybe I'll just listen to my own show and put it back together again in a timeline, unless somebody else wants to do it. Because I think all of that stuff's so interesting. His dad, 61. Then his dad escaping from a mental institution. And then he's all the way over in Tennessee. That's where he was found again, but they won't extradite him. Then he moves back to Oregon somehow. And then his son, after getting out of prison in 1974, lives with his dad in this area right here in, what the hell is the name of that? In Reck, Oregon. He apparently, his mom bought a gun. His girlfriend even was a witness to him having the gun. A gun that they can't find that actually shoots the exact same caliber of bullets that was used to kill the Cowden family. The pickup truck that was seen near the crime scene, or the campsite, on with the two little male members and the mother. They were there. Man, it just goes on and on and on and on. Crazy. But anyways, thank you guys very much. We will see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, that would make a really amazing documentary. I don't know how I could do. I mean, the thing is, I do live in Oregon. I might be able to go down there, and I wonder if there's anybody still alive down there that would know. I mean, it's not horrendously long ago. So maybe some of these people are still alive and would be interested in discussing it. Who knows? We'll have to see how that goes. But anyways, thank you guys very much. A little male member. That's right. There you go. You get it? You know what I'm saying? Thank you guys very much, and we'll see you tomorrow. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. Oh, and don't be a con man out there, and don't be arrested. Don't be a fugitive. Turn yourselves in. Oh, you already got caught. Never mind. All right, everybody. See you guys later. Be safe out there.
Take it away, Grady.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now.
And where were you all now?
And during this whole
I was trying
time,
to listen to your show, Gray.
one person
Okay.
that is a crime dissector.
Look, rejector.
I'm a certified
Human lie detector. Gonna get ya.
on a stretcher. If you try and play me like an old projector, crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gray is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temper fucking check ya. I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you.
All right, everybody. See you guys tomorrow. Be safe out there.
Yeah, everybody be safe out there.
Be safe out there.
Be safe out there.
Wow. What a bunch of robots.
Damn right.
All right, see you guys later. Bye-bye.